To make sure. Hold on one. There we go. All right, looks like my OBS trolled on me. Sorry about that. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kuura Isagami, and thanks for tuning in with me here once again on the Metarots News Network as we design yet another brand new and original Orimeda here tonight, this time with another special guest that will be gracing the workshop floor. I've been doing a lot of art streams here in recent, actually, and to be completely honest, I've been really enjoying them. Not just with the ability to do them by myself, just with chat and hanging out, but also being able to do a couple of experimental collaborative designs with having a special guest with me here. So far, I did have my friend Sane hop on for a little while. I had Sunny here just fairly recently. And now, of course, I have yet another guest with me here tonight doing basically the same thing. But this time, because it's going to be completely original with brand new designs and prompts, I have no clue, honestly, what we're going to be coming up with tonight. So it's going to be extremely exciting. But with that being said, before we do go further, I am going to take a second to introduce officially my guest host with me here and my guest here with me at the MNN tonight. EmerRaldo, my dear friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I do appreciate you having me here to do this. This is something unique I've never done before.
And it's honestly great to have you with me here today as well on the MNN. It is an absolute treat to always share the news desk with a friend here at the MNN, or even just having some fun on other channels, or even just some friendly vibes. Just to kind of touch base, I did have you on the channel here once before for that Outsmarted collab of a fair bit ago, and just recently you had me guest on your channel for that Repo collab. But before we do get ahead of ourselves here, EmerRaldo, for friends and fans that have not tuned into either of those and are unfamiliar with you, how about you take a couple minutes and just kind of introduce who you are, what you do, favorite games, and just some little self plugs for yourself.
Well, Kuura, thank you. I will take the floor. So my name is EmerRaldo Imura. I am another vintage repairman VTuber, but I am also a Crystallian, which is also rock gemstones people. So I take fascination in a lot of fantasy games, shooters, or even the occasional puzzle game, which even though I don't like, I will still play.
I gotcha.
But I always like to try new things because I don't like to do just the same things I play every day on stream.
Exactly. And variety is always the spice of life, though. Any particular games you've been playing in recent or been looking into wanting to try with future endeavors?
Well, right now I am playing a little game called Little Goody Two Shoes. It's actually a prequel to a game. I actually have it right here. Um, it is a prequel to. Wow, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on here. It's a prequel to a game called Pocket Mirror.
Okay.
And I'm planning on playing that next as well, but I also plan to finally delve into the Final Fantasy series since I actually have never played any before.
I've heard very good things about the Final Fantasy series, honestly, with lots of very big story elements and, of course, very iconic characters. I actually have not gotten into it myself just yet personally, but I definitely do. I definitely am very well aware of the series and just how long and how far it's been developing.
Right, and I plan to either start. I think the fan favorite is either 14, but I also plan to delve into the 7 remake as well.
Okay, I was just about to ask next if there were any specifically that you were looking into to try possibly.
Because it seems like a 14 seems to be like the fan favorite of everyone.
That's what I've heard so far, and I think if I recall correctly with my vague knowledge of the series, 14 is the online one, correct?
Yes, is the one that's very popularly online and cooperative.
I gotcha. Okay, I've had friends of mine talk to me about that one before, but with the way my schedule is, I've already got a full plate between Metarots, my own channel, and and a bunch of other things like Star Rail that keep my attention. So I don't know if I can put another game on the docket just yet.
And that is entirely fair.
Yes, I've been trying to possibly look into doing like a Zelda game at some point to do another Let's Play, much like I did with Dark Cloud 2 on my channel a number of months ago. But I just haven't decided on which one specifically because let's be real, they're all good, and I just have to figure out which one I want to sit down and play with.
I mean, there's always a bunch of options out there to choose from. I mean, recently I finally got into the Tales series actually last year. It was called Tales of Arise.
Heard very good things about the Tales series. Yes.
Very good series. Definitely something that I recommend getting into if you're into the fantasy magic genre.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. like I said, I've heard very good things about that one, so I will definitely have to keep that in mind. But without further ado, thank you so much, Emeraldo, for that wonderful introduction and just a couple developments that you've been working on your own channel. So definitely, if you guys are looking forward to that or looking for a new person to follow and show your support, definitely make sure that you give Emeraldo that as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what the big magic is for tonight. So I did formally invite Emeraldo to a Orimeda collab stream here on the MNN, where we'll be designing a brand new, never before seen Orimeda, much like I did with previous guests, such as with Sane and with Sunny. But this time around, again, because I give each of them the same assignment but with different results, there is no telling what tonight is going to bring. So for those that are unaware, when I do invite a friend on for a collaborative Orimeda stream, I give them a link to the random Metarot kit generator, which a lot of my followers are very well familiar with. It'll spit out 3 skills, a leg type, a leg ability, and a drop down that gives you a chance for a theme or motif to put the whole thing together. So when I invited Emeraldo on the channel, I gave him the same assignment: is to play around with the generator, come up with maybe 3 or 4 designs that he liked the best, that he think would make very, very solid designs and Orimedas on stream, and we would essentially break them down and pick one that best fits and matched overall. So I'm very, very excited for that, to see what we may be coming up with, because honestly, like I said earlier, the variety is the spice of life, and coming up with something brand new with no real plan as blindly as you can honestly makes for the best entertainment, if I'm being completely honest. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, hey, surprise is always the best present.
Exactly. So now what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and start up my playlist here real quick, just so I can get the ball rolling. And same rules as usual: if it's either too loud or too soft, just let me know and I can turn it up or turn it down. Same can be said as well with my guest. If he's either getting drowned out by the music or he's too loud, just let me know and I can make minor modifications as necessary. So let's go ahead and get that BGM running. And if I do recall correctly, Emeraldo, you said you'll be streaming on your own channel as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm actually currently live right now.
Oh, perfect. Well, it's always great to have multiple groups coming in and weighing in with that as well. So if there's any chatters or any interaction from your side, please do be sure to fill me in on that as well, and we can try to keep both chats engaged and included. Because that is honestly the most important thing on my end, is just making sure everybody's enjoying it and having a good time.
Course.
So, with that being said, let me go ahead and start up a canvas here so we can get started. And we will take a look at those result prompts that you gave and see what kind of magic we can make happen. So, that being said, let me go ahead and just set up my little fancy little template here I like to use, just so I have everything set up and ready. And all layers. Alrighty. So now let's take a look-see at those entries that you put together and brought in for us. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start this up here. Poof, there we go. Alrighty, so go to white first. And here, so we have. So how many options? So how many prompts did you officially set up for stream tonight, Emeraldo?
I have set up 3, even though I actually did take a good half an hour scrolling through them, trying to detail what I could think.
And honestly, though,
but I settled on these 3.
That's the best part, though, because the nice thing about the generator is the fact that you can keep playing with it for like an hour and never come with the same result twice, which makes for endless interaction and engagement. And the reason I put that generator together is essentially to help jumpstart any kind of creative ideas or endeavors that people have for their own original Metarots. So I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I have great ideas, but I don't know what to draw," or I have great art skills, but I don't know what to design. Well, that's essentially what the random kit generator is for, to kind of help create some ideas, some seeds of ideas that people can use to kind of help give them a direction. So that being said, looking at our official designs here, so the first option that you brought us with us tonight has a machine motif with a kit of, hold on, Danger, Full Charge, Hypercharge Buster, with a multi-leg and Fortress, and a heavy limit of 1. Alrighty, so let's kind of break these options down one at a time. And I might actually have to pull up my master guide here as well, just to make sure that I'm keeping everything in my information is accurate, since I cover so many skills I kind of forget which ones do what sometimes. So let me go ahead and pull that up here real quick while I'm checking something. Alright, but honestly, just based on initial looks at this one, this is going to be a very solid charge sustain kind of fighter, especially with full charge and hyper charge buster being able to synergize very, very well with itself, which is kind of what the what the big goal of this one is. However, Danger, on the other hand, let me pull that up here. Applies High Guard and Conceal. Okay, Danger, on the other hand, kind of gives it a new an extra level in support to kind of help carry its overall survivability on the field. Explaining Danger briefly, it applies a High Guard status and a Conceal to the entire team. And to explain the High Guard in specifically, it is one of the couple very rare skills that were introduced in MetaRot S that is basically access to a Metaforce element type of boost without actually having to having to actually activate a Metaforce unto itself. That one in particular, the high defense will boost all defense or the resistance stats of everyone involved by 100%, making every hit that lands basically like a love tap essentially. And at the same time, the Conceal effect that's there also grants all allies the ability of a boosted evade, and that boosted evade specifically makes it very, very easy for incoming attacks to be dodgeable or grazable, and thus reducing the ability of taking a lot of incoming damage. At the same time, let me double check here, multi-ped legs also give it very solid overall compatibility with let me see here, there we go. Get relatively solid compatibility on most terrains pretty well, and the leg ability of Fortress also makes it excessively tanky, so this is going to pair very well with Danger. So overall, what were your kind of thoughts on this one as you put it together and like this like this option, EmerRaldo?
Well, knowing me specifically, whenever I play games that involve choosing like different classes, loadouts, builds, all that, I always tend to go for either the tanky or support roles. So when I saw this one, I'm like, this is just a full-blown, complete, walking, indestructible tank build.
Yes, I can definitely see that. The only real thing I notice on here that's, and most likely because they try to keep the skill as a special exception rule on purpose, is mostly with full charge, because typically you will see that only on head uses to save it from being, used more than once. However, with the way this is designed, the way full charge behaves, it could possibly work as an arm skill because it does consume the part's HP in order to activate, which means it's easier for it to break if something's not already covering behind it. The only real problem is if anyone tries to use it for additional spam in other categories, but that's honestly something that can be very easily circumvented.
Okay.
So we could definitely make this work and have some fun with it, and especially with Fortress on there with some free extra damage reduction, adding that high defense and that passive damage reduction on top of that means it's going to be very, very difficult to take this sucker down.
So, just so you know, I do have the skill list open myself, so I could look through them.
Perfect, yeah. And I usually just double check and review it as well, just in case, for anyone that is following along, just to kind of keep everybody involved between all of our between your stream and mine. So the second result that you brought us with us tonight, I can pull this back up again. There we go. Option 2. Oops, there we go. Grab. Yep. Alright, so option 2 is another machine motif with a kit of repair, anti-CG, RP shot with flight legs, and supporter with a heavy limit of 3. Now this is definitely a very unique one as well for a number of reasons, and is rather interestingly synergetic if used correctly. So to explain the skills here briefly as well, hold on, let me move my canvas over just so it doesn't, there we go, just so it actually can be seen by the stream, so I noticed it was clipping in a little bit. So to explain this one specifically for people, Repair is a basic healing skill that, when damaged, allows it to restore just a little bit of HP to the damaged parts in question, and the level of efficacy is of course tied to the healing mastery on the metal. So generally the higher the level, the easier it is to be able to do so. Anti-CG is an extremely powerful shooting skill that, when used correctly, will check the enemy's own charge gauge, not the user's, for the amount of charge they have, and then deal bonus damage relative by percentage to their charge gauge as bonus damage. So this means if you're fighting someone just off the field right from start, you may not be dealing a whole lot of very exceptionally powerful damage, but the more you tend to blow beat them and put more charge into their gauge, or even fight someone who tries to fight as a very charge synergetic kind of fighter, this makes it very easy to punish them, as being able to basically punish them for having a lot of charge in their gauge with bonus damage on top of that. RP Shot honestly is kind of the interesting case here, as what it does is it's a basic shooting attack that puts a repair plant on the field, hence the RP, which upon completing a heating phase will passively restore a little bit of HP to all damaged parts every time a turn is completed. And the more times it's used, the more times it basically can reset the plant at any given time. Flight Legs also means that it's going to have really solid coverage with a high emphasis on mobility and evade. However, with a heavy limit of 3, it looks like this one's going to be focusing just a little heavier on bulk than it is speed, and more than likely will be playing according to that. However, the leg ability of Supporter is nice though, as it means that for every positive plant placed on the field, which is what RP Shot does, it will boost leg stats accordingly. So this means it can synergize with itself fairly easily as a overall tanky aerial kind of fighter with an emphasis on overall survivability. So EmerRaldo, kind of explain to me your thoughts on this one.
I feel this one was more of a kind of a, not just a support healer, but more of a support slash debuffer for enemies.
Okay.
So that way, say if like, not only can you repair yourself and allies, but you could also find openings for enemies with that anti-CG shot. And then with a flight supporter, you could be able to move more quickly to get to those repairs or reveal those enemies a lot sooner.
Right, and especially like I said, Flight Legs tend to focus on high mobility and evade, but at the same time, they also typically had a near non-existent resistance between their melee and shoot resist, often trading their armor for agility. And that being said, also usually had a near non-existent heavy limit between 1 and 0. But there are a couple of exceptions of ones that were notably heavier at the trade of some speed. So I think with this one specifically, it is going to focus a little heavier on artillery and bulk more than it is agility. But Supporter definitely will be able to kind of compensate that just a little bit. So another very solid and well-rounded design as well. I could definitely see us having some fun with that one. And then lastly,
if I could add like a comparison, I think the reason why it also spoke to me is if you've ever played Overwatch, it reminds me of a Sombra that can heal.
Okay.
Because Sombra had the hacking ability to shut down people's skills and their ultimates.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
And then with the enemies, and then with the medic, like say medic from Team Fortress 2, he had a melee weapon called the Solemn Vow that allowed you to see enemies' health besides just your allies.
Gotcha. Okay. I can see where you're going with that. So definitely some very solid plans just between these first two as well. So we have plenty of we have plenty of possibilities that we can work with. However, we do also have one last one that was provided as well for us tonight. That third option in particular kind of changes things up a little bit. This one in particular has a fantasy motif with a kit of Meta Rose, thank you, Laser, Hammer, but with multi-legs once again, and Assault with a heavy limit of 1. So this one's going to be focusing a little more on lightweight as well, but definitely going to be a little more forward aggressive in the right situations. Meta Rose is a special skill that was introduced with the crafty mode variants of a couple of models over the course of Year 4 with Meta S. But to explain it briefly, it is a gunpowder-based skill that shoots and attacks 3 times, but also inflicts fire and wave ailments onto the enemies. That means it can inflict a damage over time effect on the enemy in question, as well as a slowdown effect that will debuff the enemy's heating and cooling, and also provide a no dodge, I believe. Let me check again one more time, because I always get those two confused. And no defend, which means that all hits that land are going to be extremely painful no matter what. So honestly, off to a very solid start so far. Laser is an optic attribute skill that gets damage bonuses relative to CG, but also is very solid and relatively user-friendly all around as well. And then of course Hammer for your conventional melee damage as a full AoE type attack, meaning it will damage all parts and spread the damage equally. Multi-legs, much like option 1, means it's going to have relatively solid coverage on most terrains, being just a little bulkier than biped or anything else, at the cost of not being as compatible on as many terrains as, say, biped might be. And the leg ability of Assault, I'll admit, when I looked at this initially, I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is going to fit really well, but then when I saw that Meta Rose specifically was a scatter type of a skill, I'm like, okay, I could definitely see where this one's coming from. And a heavy limit of 1 means this one's going to be a little more agile than most others, but still be able to support a little bit of weight. So, that being said, EmerRaldo, what were your thoughts behind this one as option number 3?
So, my thinking is whenever I made these 3, I see the first one as, the full-on walking tank.
Okay.
The second one be the full-on mobile support. And this one, I just like the idea of a full, aggressive, no-holds-barred assault build.
Okay, I can definitely see where you're going with this. And it's fairly synergetic, too, as far as everything is concerned. Laser can get damage bonuses relative to CG, so as the fight drags on, you can actually kind of fill that over time. Hammer for your more conventional damage makes it very easy to pepper a lot of enemies with some light damage and make it easier to break things later. And then Meta Rose is going to be definitely the more forwardly aggressive element here of the 3 skills.
And also, I'm kind of biased because, Hammer. I'm a big Hammer guy.
That's fair. Definitely a lot of very solid options here. So ultimately, looking at the options again, we have a full-on heavy tank. We have a high-flying bulk support, and a more forward aggressive fantasy type with no designated theme in question. So ultimately, looking at all 3 of these specifically, all side by side, which one is kind of standing out to you?
I'm kind of stuck between option 1 and 3, because on one hand, like I said, I am a huge fan of full-on tank builds and ones that could just take damage like there's no tomorrow.
Okay.
But I also really like the idea of the full-on, full-front, aggressive, and relentless fighting style of option 3.
Okay. So definitely a lot of very solid options as well. So let me go ahead and hide this. Actually, go ahead and let's put this on steps so it's out of the way. Spell correctly, please. Thank you. Alright, so let me put all these in here. Alright, so let's go ahead and rule out option 2. So now we're down between options 1 and 3. So, like I said, we could definitely make either of these work. So, realistically, the question at this point is, how essentially would we make this work? Like, what kind of themes or motifs would we go after when we design either of these? Because that'll kind of give us our direction.
Okay, so with option 1, the image I'm thinking of, like, especially growing up with the games I have played, I think something like, say, if you were like someone wearing like a power suit, like the power armor from Fallout or the Space Marine armor from Warhammer.
Okay. Okay.
But also at the same time being just a full-blown, just walking tank that can take all damage but also dish out some damage as well.
Okay, I can see that. And then how about some directions for option 3?
Okay, for option 3, it's a bit more complicated, but what I always see, I forget which game it was. I think it was one of like the Jedi Survivor games, but I remember the fighting style of it. Again, I don't know which one it is, but you would fight with a melee weapon, but whenever you would build up enough damage against an enemy, you would just take out your sidearm and just blast them.
Okay.
Like I said, I forget which one it is, but I just like the aggressive switch-up style of using a melee, but also like a sidearm at the same time.
Okay.
And then able to debuff an enemy like you said with the Meta Rose, where it just slows them down, makes them take more damage. I'd say with like something like that, that almost reminisces me of say Starkiller from Force Unleashed.
Okay.
Like just overall uber hyper aggressive fighting style.
Okay. That's definitely a nice direction to take it too. My possibility is just looking at these, and just the first thing that came to mind is for option 1, I was thinking kind of playing on the ability of a walking fortress, kind of like maybe something kind of like you'd see out of say like Armored Core or something. That's what came to mind for me. Especially bringing the multi-legs into effect here. Whereas with option 3, with Fantasy, we can have a little more fun with it, especially given that Meta Rose inflicts both fire and wave at the same time. My idea was ultimately that we could maybe have some fun with, say, like with a more fantastical theme, such as, say, like a dragon or a drake or a verm or something along those lines as ideas as well.
Yeah, that could also be good too. What would now? Because I was gonna say tiefling, but I don't know if that would fit either.
I mean, the theme is fantasy, so you can basically interpret that in any way you please.
Okay.
I'll
look into it more as we go on too.
Right. So ultimately, what we can do is and I save these as well, so we can always come back and look at them later. So if you decide off stream, actually, I like this idea that we skipped out on or didn't do anything with. Hey, that's an idea for a stream of your own, and you can just kind of play around with it.
Mm-hmm.
So just because we choose one over the other or something similar doesn't mean we completely rule it out. It just means it's an idea that we can save for another time.
Right.
So ultimately, looking at these again, personally, I'm leaning towards option 1 in my personal opinion. But since this is a collaborative effort, your opinion is just as valuable as mine. So which one of these two is screaming out to you the most?
I definitely agree with option 1 because, I mean, like I said, I always lean more towards the walking tank support kind of styles when it comes to games or anime or just anything in general.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I'll reveal a little bit about this. My first ever D&D campaign, I was a devotion paladin that was literally just the frontline runner of every battle we were in.
Okay. That's honestly a pretty solid way to do it.
Yeah, and every time we would go into fight, they said, all right, get up there, take all the damage, and we'll hit from afar. And I would only take, at most, 30 damage out of my almost 200 HP pool.
Honestly, that's pretty solid. I mean, if you're built to be a tank that well, I'd say capitalize on it. So
exactly.
Looks like we're going to be go ahead and running with option 1. So let me go ahead and shrink this down just so it's out of the way and we can work a little more consistently. Alrighty. Oh no, I already had something up. Okay, so multi-ped legs is going to make this one just a little interesting. So what I'm thinking as a possibility for a direction, and like I said, we can honestly continue developing on this, as time goes on, is capitalizing on the ability of a walking fortress. So let me think.
And the more I think about it, you said the HP limit is 1.
Correct.
So that means it would be pretty lightweight.
Correct. So what I'm figuring is I'd want to make full charge a heavy part, because given that it's normally a head specifically that uses the skill, you're going to want to make sure it's punishable in some form when players are using it. So if you give them the option to have full charge as something that can be possibly indefinitely used, you want to try to have a penalty behind it. So that ultimately leaves Danger and Hyper Charge Buster as the two skills that are going to be the non-heavies.
And so the more I think about it, this seems really more of a unique idea as a squishy walking tank, if that makes sense. Since it's going to be lightweight, it's going to be, like you said, fairly light, but also it'll be able to tank a bunch of damage if built right.
Right. So what I'm figuring ultimately, I'm still kind of figuring something out for the head part, but what I'm thinking is for something like the legs to really capitalize on, I'm going to do something similar. And this is just our rough sketch, by the way, to kind of put the idea together.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of like a pile driver kind of leg design. Kind of like really make sure it can stay in place.
Yeah, like one of those things where pins would stick in the ground to really hold you in place.
Correct. That's what I'm thinking with it.
You know what that reminds me of? I remember because recently I was rewatching a bunch of Marvel movies, and there was a scene from Iron Man 2 where one of the mech suits that they had would have these. I think it was like the Marine ones, where they would have the things in their legs where they would like clamp down and lock into the ground, so that way they could fire artillery off.
Right. Basically, just a stabilizer.
Yeah.
So yeah, see, we're on the right track here. We're kind of getting an idea. So what I'm
figuring... And then, yeah, go ahead.
I've got a couple of ideas I'm cooking up for the head, but I'm always open to ideas. What I'm thinking is that it might be better when I draw like a profile view, like kind of like a concept of it, is something kind of stocky. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna kind of make this one kind of asymmetrical here. Hold on, let me actually around with this. I have an idea, and I'm gonna be cooking it here. Hold on. Okay, do this as like a ventilation grill over here.
Mm-hmm.
Like a central platform here with a grate over it, kind of like a balcony.
Because from what the design looks like so far, it almost seemed like the legs it would be like a quadruped,
right? And
the center part would be able to turn and twist.
Correct, exactly. So I'm thinking, I think I'll put maybe like a satellite or something up here on the top. What are your thoughts on that? Or maybe like a radar, kind of like a radar tower. Or do you think maybe that might be a bit much?
I think that may be a bit much, especially what we're going for isn't necessarily something support, like a say radar or some kind of scanner. I'd say we need to focus more, say, on just straight up bulk and, like you said, tank wise.
Okay, so I'll do a ventilation grate up here, and we'll play around with it. My idea is that this spot right here in the center is gonna be like a monitor, kind of like an eye monitor.
Okay.
So then, what I'm thinking, there we go, is to kind of differentiate. My idea was for full charge, I was going to do like a kind of like a large battery, like a energy tower, kind of like a grain silo kind of thing. You kind of see where I'm going?
Like a pylon?
Kind of. So maybe something kind of like. Like a energy tank here. Actually, that. It'll be a little easier to describe when I actually have something on here. Clean this up. What I can do. Energy here somewhere to kind of feed down from behind. And could fill this with a possibility and then gauge it. Something kind of like that.
Okay, I see where you.
Yeah, something kind of like this, kind of like an energy tank, you know, to signify full charge.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with it.
And we can honestly refine this as well into like an energy gauge instead of a liquid gauge or something similar.
Mm-hmm.
My idea for hypercharge buster, though. One idea that could come to mind. We could do something maybe similar to like just a great big railgun.
Okay. Yeah, I see. I think we can see where we're going with that. Either like a railgun or. Because with the HC Buster, it could be like a cannon in a sense.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I could see where you're going. In that case, what if we made it to where it's like a railgun, but at the Did you ever watch Transformers Cybertron growing up?
I remember seeing bits of it, but I didn't watch it all the way through.
There is a cannon specifically that comes to mind. Optimus Prime had a cannon on his super mode. When he charged it up, it looked kind of like a like the sides of the cannon would spread and it would charge up the shot.
Uh-huh. So
almost,
what we can do...
Yeah, like a linear cannon that has like overcharge panels, I'd say.
Yeah, so let me refine this real quick, and as we kind of put it together. On a smaller barrel inside.
Yeah, that's definitely exactly like that.
My eraser here easier. Something kind of like this.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, the way I'm looking at this too is that we could have some fun with an alternative, or like a secondary motif to it.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Just to kind of help it stand apart. What are your thoughts on kind of maybe going something crab-like?
Crab-like.
Figuring is
We could do something like that too. And like, say with the full charge, like the tank, what if instead of like liquid based, it was like heat buildup based?
Kind of like a thermometer?
Yeah.
You could do that, yeah.
Like the more power stored, the like brighter it gets, and the more heat builds up, and that power and heat could be used in the cannon.
Right. So let me modify this slightly.
Like what's that one weapon from Monster Hunter? The Charge Blade?
Okay.
Or the Switch Axe? It's like the more you use it, the more charge it builds up, and then it could release a giant attack.
Up here. A couple gauges like this. Something like that. Maybe something kind of like this, and then that'll kind of free up that center spot in the torso for something different.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I have an idea. Let's do. Like kind of like an arc generator kind of thing in there for aesthetic purposes.
Yeah, kind of like a arc reactor kind of thing.
Yeah, something kind of like this.
Oh yeah, this came out a lot better than I expected. Yeah, this is definitely what I'm thinking.
Yeah, something kind of like this is what we'd be looking at.
And does the HC Buster have to be projectile based, or can it also be melee based too?
So Hypercharge Buster is a shooting base attack. The melee version of it is Hypercharge Blade.
Got it. Okay. Because if we did Hypercharge Blade, I would almost say something like the Pile Bunker from Armored Core, because that's the first thing that would come to mind.
Right. I can see where you're going with that. So let's.
But since that's technically melee based, it wouldn't really work here.
Right. So let's work on putting this bad boy together.
Oh yeah.
Now that we have a direction on where we're going. Let's see. while I'm working on this, is there anything that's that you've been having down the pike, like I said, that you've been working on or preparing for?
Oh, for like just in general, like with streams and stuff?
Just in general.
Well, after recently getting a new job, which thankfully pays a lot more than my last one.
I know how that
I've been
feels.
looking, yeah, especially with having to change my schedule to where I don't stream evenings anymore during the week since it takes up my 3 to almost midnight schedule.
Gotcha.
So what I'm planning to do, I do still plan on streaming, but it would be more like in the mornings or like late mornings times since I have to be at work at around 3.
Right, I getcha. That's a pretty nice thing, though, honestly.
Yeah, but what I do plan to do still, for the people who can see on my stream, I do have a goal where I am trying to get new assets, so that way I can be more, say, professional, because I'm still working with a PNG model, which isn't a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. There's you can also get a whole lot done with a PNG type model.
But I do still want to be able to grow so I can get my own full-blown 3D model.
Right.
And I'm still aiming for that.
Have you considered looking into programs like Vroid as far as 3D is concerned?
Vroid. I heard about Vroid, but I haven't looked into it fully.
So the really nice thing, I definitely recommend checking that out because it's, if I recall, it's completely free, so it doesn't cost you anything to install or download straight from Steam. But it is a fully comprehensive 3D character creating software. So it has lots of presets you can play with. You can modify the textures of clothes or designs. You can also do a lot of specialized hairs if you know what you're doing. Body design, body shape, body width, eye design. It's a very intuitive program.
Oh wait, no, yes, I have used this before. I actually tried making one of my own models from this one time, and it didn't turn out very great.
Well, I'd say giving that another try because it's a very robust program. You can get a lot done with it.
I think it's also because I was just doing the simplicities of it at first to kind of do like a test run.
Yeah, I would definitely just don't do anything like serious, saying like what the next model I make is going to be, you know, the it model, but definitely something to kind of play around with and just kind of experiment.
Yeah, no, that definitely is something I'll like look into more. It'll have to be something I would have to like dedicate a lot of time to like making, because whenever I'd like to make something, I'd start off, but then the more I'd go, the more detail I want it to be.
No, I getcha. Yeah, I definitely recommend taking a look at that. I've actually seen the really nice thing too is that because it is 100% an original program, I've seen a lot of people actually open up like commissions and such for it.
Yeah, I have seen those too. Like I've seen a couple people on Twitter who want to who do commissions, or even on VGen where they'll do commissions through Vroid.
Right. Actually, one of my other friends, Ryoko, her 3D model mama does Vroid stuff.
Okay, and that's actually really good.
It's really intuitive, the kind of things you can do with that. In fact, and I'm impressed by this, honestly. She actually even figured out how to do, you know, like working tail as a separate hair accessory.
Oh, okay, I see.
So it's a very robust program, and you can do a lot with it once you understand how to do it.
Yeah, the one thing that always, you know, discourages me, well, not discourage, I'd say. One thing that's a bit of a challenge is getting all this new stuff. It's not cheap.
No, it is not, unfortunately.
And I respect all the artists and like 3D rig people out there who take the time and effort to do this.
Oh yeah.
It's just something that takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning process that you're not going to learn in a day. You have to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing and invest time into doing it properly.
Yeah, and I understand why some artists out there will charge mortgages for these models.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like there are some where I'm just like, you know what? Maybe that's a little much. Like there's one model artist I saw. I don't know them enough to know what their credit is, but I saw them charge, I think, almost 10K for a model.
Well, I hope that I hope that sucker's sentient if I'm gonna be paying 10K for a model.
That better replace my life if it's gonna be 10K.
Yeah, exactly.
But I understand why a lot of model like artists and people who also take time to rig would charge a good couple hundred or close to $1,000 to do so.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually one reason why I hand drew my current model. I unfortunately,
yeah, and it looks great.
Unfortunately, was not able to figure out rigging yet, but it's definitely going to be a very nice process once you get to that point, because you already have made the model, you know everything about it, so all that's left is just, helping, finding someone to help bring it to life.
Yeah. And it's one thing if you're doing both at the same time, but like creating the model and also getting it rigged is a lot to do.
Oh yes, and I have a lot of respect for people that can do art and rigging, because it's a process and a half, and this is coming from a guy that self-taught himself 3D modeling.
Oh jeez. It's like the people who like want to self-teach themselves how to run or how to use the Unreal Engine.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But again, I also respect the people who take the time and dedication to do that.
Yeah, it's a process and a half to do it.
But yeah, my first goal is, I want to just make my stream before I get a model. I just want to be able to make my streams look more presentable, and
yeah,
it's like, oh hey, like that looks great. I'm gonna tune in and see what that's about.
Kind of take some tidbits from this one and that one and personalize it.
Yeah, because one thing I do want to do is I want to get a proper like starting soon screen, or we'll be right back, or ending stream screen. Like right now, all I do is just hit start and go from there. And I was like, no, I want to do more than that,
And honestly, there's nothing wrong with doing that either, because even my friend Sane, when they do their streams, they sometimes just hit start and just jump right into it. Like they sometimes just don't really bother too much with the starting soon, and they just have fun with it. If people join late, well, that's kind of on them. So
right, and with the host, go ahead.
So I wouldn't worry too much about trying to like compare to others. Say, hey, I absolutely need this, or I absolutely want to use this. Just take tidbits of both and just kind of see what happens. See what works.
Yeah, it'll take time and a lot of money, but I'll get there.
Well, it depends on who you find and who you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was looking for someone to do rigging for mine, I think I just got super lucky with my rigging mama, because she actually was someone who was extremely talented for what she brought, but she was looking for a portfolio to help fill. So I was actually able to get my rig done fairly cheap.
Okay.
So I was very happy with how well that came out, and obviously I'm still using the model. Otherwise, I wouldn't be satisfied with it. But no, it honestly just depends on who you know.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do have trouble with is like connections.
Oh yeah. On the topic of connections, actually, that's a really good conversation thing. I was going to mention this to you before stream, but now is actually a really good time. Have you ever heard about something that's been floating around called VoOP chat?
No.
Okay, so obviously you know about Omegle, right?
Yeah, I remember Omegle.
So take Omegle, but make it exclusively for VTubers and content creators, and take out all the stuff that made Omegle extremely dangerous for young people to be on.
Got it. So it's like more it's more heavily emphasis on making sure like you're of age.
Correct. It's a lot cleaner. Now, granted, everyone's going to be an adult, but it's a lot cleaner. It's a lot cleaner and more user friendly. And honestly, I was on it for just like an hour the other day, and I want to try to get back on and meet more people, but it's just been busy with other things. It's honestly super nice. Like just the 3 or 4 people I met on there have been nothing short of super nice. And if you're looking for networking, I definitely recommend checking it out. They apparently have waves where if they have enough people on at once, they're gonna kind of cut a conversation short to shuffle everybody again. And I've been keeping track of their development in the Discord. They've been around for about a year now, apparently, when I joined recently. And they said, their peak just today alone, they had like almost 400 or 500 people on at one time.
I see what you're trying to do right here. Are you trying to make it like a
cylinder?
Like what if it's like, like a cylinder, like hydraulic kind of thing?
I'm gonna figure out when I get to that point. It's just the way I draw, because I don't have one of those fancy tablets with the screen on it. I kind of have to ballpark. I have to ballpark it a handful of times, so I just have to kind of play around. That's all. There we go. See, that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I'm just gonna refine the shape once I actually have it. There we go. That's kind of what I was looking for.
Okay, I see what you did there. But yeah, with Voop Chat, honestly, you bringing it up now is actually the first time I've heard about it. I'm surprised I never heard about it before.
Well, it's funny because I actually didn't even know it existed either until it showed up in my feed one day, you know, literally just earlier this week. And they're like, and this person tagged someone else really big in the content creating industry, and they said, "Yo, I can't believe this is basically like Omegle for VTubers." And I'm like, "Huh, interesting." So I went and looked at it, and yeah, sure enough, that's basically what it is. Like, they'll randomly match you with other people that are online, and then you can basically like cut down the amount of time that you have per session, essentially, by like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, or something similar to that, and just kind of something that's more comfortable to you.
Okay.
But honestly, it was really nice. I mean, the first person that met me when I hopped on was one of the welcome crew, they call them, which essentially just people that join and kind of are auto paired with people that just start out or just made new accounts on there. And just for the couple minutes I was on with them, they were nothing short of super nice and accommodating, while just kind of giving the overall consensus of what the site was for.
Okay, yeah, that sounds very a welcoming kind of start. That's always nice.
What I'll do is when we get off the air later this evening, I'll send you a link to their page and you can check it out, because it's honestly really nice. They have events that they do and they coordinate for, and if you're a voice chat lurker, it's a really good place too, because they apparently have people in there like all the time.
Okay, yeah, that'd definitely be something I'd like to check out.
There you go. So I'm interested in trying to cultivate that a little more and see if maybe I can get some see if I can make some new connections in there too.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Something kind of like that. There we go. That up a little. Okay. Now what I can do. Sometimes my hand isn't as steady as I want it to be, unfortunately.
Oh, trust me, I get it. With my job, I always have to use microscopes, and I have to always constantly use my big hands to tie something really small.
Oh, that's fun. Imagine
yeah,
you probably are developing, you know, the hands of a surgeon at that point.
I mean, I hope not, because my hands are way too big, and sometimes they're also just really shaky sometimes, too.
Yeah, gotta love that.
I don't. Not at all.
So if we're ever playing a bomb diffusion game, we know who not to give the bomb to.
Exactly. Actually, just don't trust me with explosives at all, because I will either use them or drop them.
That is also good to know.
Never said use at a good time, though.
There we go.
You know, funny enough, I went to this convention recently, near where I live, and you know, conventions will usually have booths that have, you know, knockoff things, cheap things, or you know, stuff that they say is real but isn't.
Right, bootlegs.
Yeah, bootlegs. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't find the right word, but I did find a booth that was selling, you know, official Honkai Star Rail trading cards. Ooh. I was like, okay, let me check this out. And you know, I bought a few packs because I was interested. And like, honestly, these look pretty legit. The problem is, you know, that kind of throws me off is some of them are really inconsistent on what material they're made out of.
Right.
So I'm just like, that kind of throws me off. But the good thing is, everything on them looks great.
I mean, Star Rail in general has always been really solid with the content that they have, especially with physical merch too.
Yeah, my problem is I don't have enough physical merch. I really would like to get me a plush of some characters. Asta, Tingyun.
I mean, hey, that's some good choices there as well.
Sassy little shaman. It's coming bound to say hi and devote your sassiness to the stream, I see.
I hear Shaman in chat. Welcome, welcome. Always happy to have you with us and hang out for a while.
We're over here making mechs, making dreams come true.
We're making it work.
How you doing tonight, Sassy? I hope you're doing well. Hope you're a little sassier than usual.
There we go.
I'm playing the beta repo, but wanted to lurk. Oh, the beta repo. That's interesting. Is it any better or different than the current repo? But also, thank you for the lurk at the same time. But yeah, there's another new maps. Oh, okay, new maps. Yeah, I'm getting tired of kind of this.
I think I recall seeing that actually in the devlog on Steam.
Oh yeah, did they update it?
Well, I've heard something about it that they were getting ready to release some new stuff.
Thank goodness, because if I'm being honest, I love the maps we have. We just need a little more variety.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Because even when we collabed on your channel the other day and played it, they seemed to like giving us the same like 2 or 3 maps over and over, and it did get kind of old after a while.
Yeah, but it was still fun regardless, though. That's the thing.
Absolutely. Honestly, it was quite hilarious watching you try to clutch the game for like 15 minutes while the rest of us just turn the stream into a podcast.
Right. I still remember doing math in my head, trying to calculate and find different items.
Oh no, we watched you the whole time. We're like, oh, he's got this. You know, he's gonna come in clutch because he's looking everywhere for these items. And then he's like, oh no, I think this will be enough. Crack. Never mind. No, it won't.
It was the doll, I tell you. If that doll didn't, just explode, it would have been enough.
Yeah, I gotta love the physics sometimes with that.
Yeah, and that's why some mods are really helpful. Like one that says objects don't break as easily.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as being something that's valuable.
Like, with stuff like, say, the giant vase, I'm like, okay, I could see that being very fragile and breaking almost instantly. But a doll breaking just by touching it? Just like, alright.
Yeah, that's kind of what I picked up on it too, but honestly, most of my deaths were mostly because I either just genuinely didn't see something around the corner or I got shot. Whichever came first.
And I felt bad. I don't remember. I think it was a shaman who every time everyone except her would just be dead.
Yes.
And she'd have to carry the entire game for us.
Oh yeah, if it wasn't you carrying the game, it was definitely Shay.
And the one thing I felt bad about is like, oh yeah, this is exactly how one of my friends are in the friend group that I'm like in, like off stream. Like, we all just die, and then they have to carry the entire game for us, and we feel bad every time.
At that point, you just have to start giving it, making a meme for like pain meds or something, just to throw in there every time. Just mention, hey, is your back hurting yet?
I mean, one of my favorite, because me and my friends are starting to play it mod. I have like over 40 mods now installed for repo.
Nice.
A lot of them are dependencies, though, obviously. But one of my favorite ones is, there's a new enemy called the Hidden, I think?
Okay.
It's just straight up an invisible enemy that just takes you.
I've heard about the Mimic mod in Repo getting a lot of popularity.
I want to try that, but me and my friends are uber terrified of Mimic enemies, especially in games like Lethal.
Yeah, I've heard apparently in Lethal the Mimics are particularly horrifying.
Extremely.
That is good to know.
But the mod I have is for the Hidden, where because if you're like down or tumbled, it could grab and just take you. And my favorite mod I have for it is whenever you get taken by it, it just starts playing Freebird.
Oh no.
But funny enough, we haven't really had any trouble with it. It's definitely Repo is one of those games that is just really fun to mod. Of course, someone had to add the Goku mod for the enemy that insta-kills you.
Gotta love it.
I mean, then because everyone knows about the Bracken mod from Lethal that turns it into Goku. Ooh, I like the different hydraulic designs you have for the legs.
That's what I
Like
figured. And then one of the other ideas I had was I was gonna make the actual legs kind of like drills,
yeah,
kind of help it
That
to
way they
stabilize itself.
yeah, and then the things on the sides of the legs would be like stabilizers when they're drilled into the ground.
Exactly. Yes.
Perfect. I like it. I like it.
See what I got.
You know what I feel like it would be really fun for you to do too?
Hit me.
So, designing weapons seems to be really fun. Something you could do too.
I could see it.
Have you ever delved into the series Ruby?
I've heard of it, heard very good things, but I just never got into it.
So, long story short, not talking about characters or anything, but the characters did have a different set of unique weapons.
I'm aware of the weapons and the creations, yeah. And, like, I know of the series and kind of a very basic plot premise, but I just never got into it.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, people will always tell you after season 3 is when people just say, just don't bother watching anymore.
That's what I've heard the overall consensus is, but apparently
I will agree with them.
Apparently there was some news recently where like it got picked up by another studio again or something.
Yes.
Like that?
I can't believe I forgot the name of the studio, but it is an anime studio.
Which one is it? Rooster Teeth or is it someone else?
Rooster Teeth is the one that initially owned them.
Gotcha.
Who bought Ruby? Viz Media.
That was it, Viz. Yeah, I remember reading something on it recently.
They're a really well-known media company for American entertainment.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm
Because,
aware of Viz.
Whoops, wrong one. But like you find animes like say Naruto or Boruto, Bleach, or even Sailor Moon go through Viz Media too.
Right, that's what I heard. It's definitely one of the big ones.
But what I was getting to, like, was say with the weapons, like, say the uniqueness of, like, say even just the main character having a scythe that transforms into a sniper rifle, and like I always found that really cool.
Oh yeah, they definitely have a lot of very creative character designs.
See, funny enough, I actually got the initial inspiration for my hammer design that I use. It's a combination of the gravity hammer from Halo, which will always be my favorite hammer design.
Uh-huh.
But it also turns into an anti-material rifle. Not specifically a sniper, but anti-material.
Okay.
So it'd be like like one of, almost like this right here, where it build up enough damage it could shoot a really powerful anti-material projectile.
Right. Oh, also some kind of moving on to another subject here that was brought to attention. I actually didn't even hear about this until recently, but do you know about the fan game that's been in development for the last several years? Masks of Power, that Bionicle fan game?
Yes. I grew up with Bionicle. I love Bionicle.
Yeah, apparently it's been making news that Lego pulled their support for it, so it got shut down like 3 months. It got shut down like 3 months before the demo was supposed to release.
Lego, come on. Oh, funny enough, I just opened like my Twitter on my phone, and there it is right there saying Lego shut down Bionicle fan game after dozens of devs worked for 8 years to make it.
Yeah.
That just makes me upset.
I've been seeing a lot of mixed opinions on that as well, and a lot of them are definitely negative for that reason, and I can definitely understand. A lot of people are saying that they took a page out of Nintendo's playbook for it, and I'm like, honestly, I would consider this one worse, because unlike Nintendo...
Yeah, this is really bad.
Well, right, because here's the difference, is Nintendo would have shut it down day one. Like, there's no way it would have gotten into 8 years of development without Nintendo.
Oh, no,
absolutely not.
Not even like a month.
Yeah, they would have absolutely shut that thing down. But what's really burning a lot of people up with this project was this was I'm not gonna say it was endorsed, but it was expressly supported, like watched by Lego themselves, the Lego company. And they apparently even had an ambassador that touched base with them to make sure that, you know, they weren't overstepping any boundaries or touching on any IPs or anything that they weren't allowed to mess with. So this one was kind of just that emotional gut punch because Lego followed this one overtly and didn't say anything, actually gave them their blessing. And then like 3 months before development says, yeah, we're nixing you guys now, cease and desist. And we're like, ow, like seriously, like what happened?
That always bugs me that companies will just back out of ideas that would be a super good idea. Like the biggest thing I always advocate for, and yes, I'm one of these people, is Sony not letting FromSoft get Bloodborne on other platforms.
An exclusivity.
Yeah, because Sony, and I don't want to say too much because, you know, we're on stream too, but it's one of those things where it's like, come on, this would be such a good idea.
Right.
Because we got stuff like God of War, Spider-Man on Steam now. And, you know, having Bloodborne on Steam would be like... I mean, recently, this is actually recent, someone actually made a 60 FPS mod for Bloodborne, and they got a cease and desist from Sony.
Ouch.
Yeah, and we're like, okay, does this mean we're finally getting Bloodborne remastered? No.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were hoping with it too. Is that this means that Lego might possibly have something down the pike with Bionicle, but they've not touched the series.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I was about to say they've not touched the IP in how long?
Yeah, I mean, they recently came out with like those Redux versions of classic Bionicles. I don't know if you remember those. There was like, they had ones of like Redux versions of like the first generation ones.
Yeah, but realistically though, does that kind of count? Because I think they kind of gave up on the series.
Not really.
I think they kind of gave up on it after Hero Factory kind of failed.
God, don't even remind me about Hero Factory. That still makes me mad.
Now, in its defense though, it did come up with a lot of very unique parts that a lot of expert mock makers still use, so you gotta give it credit
That's
for that.
true. What I don't like is they try to make it as a replacement for Bionicle.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and a lot of people are not necessarily fans of that.
Including me.
Right. So
I mean, I still remember the Bionicle commercial that played All American Rejects.
Oh yeah, they got really creative with their commercials too, so this was definitely an emotional gut punch. I'm expecting at some point Lego's going to come out with some kind of statement to explain why, because they've been silent pretty much ever since they issued the cease and desist. But
I think the problem is, like, if they ever, when they do that, it's not going to be met with positivity. I can guarantee that.
Oh, absolutely not. Like that is an absolute given. That's not happening. Let's see here.
I mean, that's like saying, oh, what's that one? You know, it's like one of those things where the one that kind of got away with it, but at the same time was still its own thing, is Power World.
Yes, and that one's still kind of being developed right now.
Yeah, because didn't they recently have to go to court with Nintendo for something?
They've been in court for a while. In fact, the most recent decision was Nintendo telling them that there's certain functions they have to remove until the court's thing is settled. Like, for instance, you can't glide on pals anymore.
Is it because it's reminiscent of Fly from Pokemon?
I don't know what the exact reason for it was, but a lot of people have theories over it. A lot of them said this is only until the court is settled one way or another, because they don't want to give Nintendo more ammo to use against them. But another theory is saying that Nintendo is likely doing that on purpose to kind of help strip the functions that make Pal World unique, so that by the time the court's settled, they can kind of look at it and go, okay, well, what do you have that makes you different from all these other knockoffs we're trying to take out of court?
Right.
So it's definitely going to be kind of a very mixed bag when that comes out. Then I was reading earlier today that apparently a lot of people are boning up on mods for Pal World that kind of re-implement those things back as features. And I'm like, well, at that point, you know, it's kind of out of Pocket Pair's hands, because they're not the one making it. It's not part of vanilla anymore, so
Exactly.
Nintendo can't do anything to stop them. Well, they could try, but they won't get far.
They could try, yeah. It's like saying Call of Duty hitting Halo with something like that, because in Halo Reach they implemented sprint, so it's like, oh nope, you can't sprint. That's a thing we have in our games.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I can understand why a lot of people are upset with this, because let's be real, Nintendo specifically has been kind of in hot water for a hot minute for the last couple months. So
oh yeah,
their reputation is not the greatest right now.
Actually, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say you were talking about Nintendo. You just completely reminded me of another situation that happened. I think it was back in this was back on the 3DS. I think it was like back in like 2015, 16. Whenever someone came out with their own version of Samus 2 Returns, it was like reminiscent of the Metroid Fusion gameplay.
Right.
But then Nintendo came out with a cease and desist, but then they came out with their own version of a Samus 2 remake.
Right. So,
and I remember that was like a whole huge deal for everyone.
Yeah, and that definitely would not have been met with very positive reception either.
And it wasn't, trust me. Everyone was heated about it.
And rightfully so too. Let's see.
But like at the same time, it also led to the path for Metroid Dread, which I still love. I love Metroid Dread.
I've heard good things about Dread.
Ooh, okay, I do like that full charge tank a lot better than we were initially doing with the liquid.
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of do like an RGB kind of blend here on the inside of the tank when I get to that stage.
Now, for the cannon, for an idea, instead of having it like a cylindrical, like a circuit, like a cannon like that, what if we did more like rectangular?
Okay, I can see it.
Or like a prism kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
I could see it. Actually, realized I didn't quite down here on the legs too, so let me do that real quick.
Right.
Like this.
But yeah, I remember talking about examples like that. Like the whole thing with Samus, like Samus 2, Samus Returns, the remake for Nintendo came out with. When Nintendo completely slammed the guy who literally remade Samus 2 from the ground up using Metroid Fusion's engine and like basically refurbishing it.
Right.
And it was amazing. I mean, people still play it to this day, I think. I actually preferred over the actual Samus 2 re-release. Because in my opinion, I agree with the people when they say I still just like the old classic pixel 2D side-scrolling that Metroid was.
Right.
I love Dread still, though. I mean, Dread is the exception in my opinion. Yeah, but like with the 2D side-scrolling, with like old like Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, or Zero Mission, that just appeals a lot more.
Yeah, and honestly, that's honestly something really nice too. Is sometimes certain genres will hit and miss with people because they either are really big into it or they're not.
Yeah.
And that's honestly something really important too when you're gauging your audience. Is is it going to be something that's going to be well received?
I mean, that's the big thing that Nintendo took a risk with Metroid Prime. It literally turned Metroid into an FPS, but it was amazing.
What are your thoughts, by the way, on the topic of that, with the incoming, I'm just gonna say controversy at the moment with the Switch 2 incoming here pretty soon? What are your thoughts on the overall, on the feelings for that?
I think Nintendo is doing something completely unnecessary, in my opinion, driving the price up for people who don't live in Japan.
So I think part of that honestly isn't necessarily Japan's fault, and I'm not gonna try to defend, vehemently defend or put credit where it's due or not due. But
right.
I think part of it is primarily just because of the big tariffs thing that's going on right now.
Yeah, and I do understand that. Like I said, I don't blame Japan itself, but I do wonder, it's like, is it really, could you really say it's fair to charge people that live here in America an extra $100 for the Switch 2? Right.
Now, my overall thought on it too, talking to some friends of mine about it in discussions, is I mentioned in passing that I've actually not seen too many particular complaints with the cost of the console. Like, yeah, I think
Mhm.
$90 for games is absolutely ludicrous. I'm 100% in that camp. I don't think that should fly.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I'm also of the opinion that I've not seen a lot of people talking about the cost of the console. And that, like I said, maybe that's just me not having seen it or been in the loop on that too much. But I've been seeing a lot more blowback on the games being 90 and people saying lower the price for those more than the console. And taking that into account, as a friendly reminder, I need to do this. When the OG Switch launched, it was like $300 retail. I was actually just talking to my family about it today. But when you look at the Switch 2, it says it's retailing currently at $450. And maybe it's just me, but I don't particularly see too much of an issue with that, because I watched the Direct, when I got home that day. I went and watched the Direct and kind of tuned in, and I'm a techie by nature, so I like keeping up to date with the new stuff that's incoming. And for the content and for the specs that the Switch 2 is offering, I really didn't see a whole lot of an issue with the pricing. I would have, not that I can afford it right now, but I wouldn't complain too much about a $450 price tag with the Switch 2, because I think for what it's offering, that's particularly fair.
Now, to add on to that, I would say I agree, but at the same time I don't. Because when you got consoles like, say, yes, for people who are watching, I'm an Xbox, don't start console wars. I'm an Xbox junkie, and, I have had friends who are, grew up on PlayStation. The PS5 and the Xbox Series X, in my opinion, I mean, in the end of the day, it always comes down to hardware that should make the driving price.
Yes.
And in my opinion, I still don't think the Switch has the same or equivalent hardware that would Xbox Series X or PS5.
No, I'd agree with that. It's also worth
mentioning, and that's why I don't think it's worth $450.
I think it's also worth noting on that topic, though, that, as a friendly reminder, Nintendo never really cared too much on innovating. So people will say, oh, it had this, this feature that was released, and people argue, no, yeah, well, Xbox or Sony had that feature already for 2 years, so it's nothing new. Well, it's new for Nintendo because they've not had it before. However, I had a thought I was going with. Hold on. It's man, my brain just fried on me. I had a thought, I lost it. It's oh yes, I remember what it was. It was a Twitter thread I saw a while ago. This guy actually was speaking with his college professor, and he asked for his opinion on the Switch 2 prices. Now, for context, he said this was his old home ec professor, an economics professor. So so it was literally his job to stay involved with the recent trends of things that go up in price. Economics, so business, finances, homes, marketing. That was like literally what he taught. And he asked him, hey, what are your thoughts on this, after giving some context? And it was one of the most profound tweets or responses I've ever seen on the subject, that is not in defense one way or another, but also explains pragmatically why it's an issue and why it is the way it is. And the short answer of that whole conversation was, the professor said, you have to look at this first of all from an inflation point of view. What did Nintendo have now that it didn't have back in 2017 when the first Switch launched? And his answer was an economic recession. Because if you look at the value of the yen right now as of today, and actually on that, if you followed it over the last 5 years, like I have for Medaront, you can really keep track of this. The yen is not very strong. Actually, I take that back. It is not strong at all right now. Like, compared to the US dollar, the last time I looked at a few weeks ago, it was like 1 yen is equal to like 0.0062 cents. Like it's not very big at all. Yeah, it's like worth not even dirt, unfortunately, as far as the conversion is concerned. So what he said was, unfortunately, in 2017, Japan didn't really have that as a problem as badly.
Right.
So them being able to charge, MSRP $300 for the Switch 2 or for the Switch seemed like a fair deal. because they weren't going to be making as much of a profit loss on it, if any at all. But then as inflation went up everywhere else, it slowly became more and more of a problem, because again, with the yen being so low right now, they have to eat a loss even at the $450 price tag. And he actually even went as far as looking at actually doing the math on the on how much a game cost for the original Switch in 2017 compared to today, and roughly calculating it out without pulling up the tweet and looking at it again, which might take some time to go look for. The math actually added up. Like $60 back then in 2017 for a Switch title roughly added up to about $90, about 80. I think the final math was like 87 something, I think, overall. So it made a lot of sense to kind of see where it was developing at that point. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of see that from an inflation point of view, because money just is not worth what it used to be anymore.
No.
So his overall thoughts, kind of putting a TLDR on that, was, honestly, I'm shocked they didn't increase the price more.
Ah, the mercenary, the Mer, thank you for lurking. Thank you for so much. How you doing tonight?
Welcome, welcome. I see hear another friend in chat.
Yes, we're just talking about economics while at the same time drawing a really, really cool tank build.
We're making it work.
Yeah, I think this rectangular cannon design fits a lot better than the circular one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too when I got to that point. Kind of like that.
Because like with the legs, the circular design works because, you know, it's supposed to be mobile, but that cannon just fits a lot better in my opinion.
Right. I'm just gonna find something I can do to kind of round it in a little bit, because I want to put something on the top of the cannon, or I could put it on the side since it's just not in view.
Maybe some kind of device on the top that would be like some kind of like a laser pointer almost to aim.
Like a scope.
Yeah, like a scope / laser pointer. Because you'd still want to aim. Oh, Sassy says also hi, Kuura.
Hi, Sash. It was great to have you. Let's see. Maybe something kind of like.
As Sane's cheering the 6 bits. Thank you, Sane.
Oh, well, welcome, Sane. It's always nice to have you. Oh, I see Sane in my chat. Welcome, welcome. It is nice to have you in chat. How you doing today, Sane?
Yes, how are you doing? Surprised me, completely caught me off guard with the bits, but thank you so much.
Sane is great. Much hug. Recommend.
Sane is great.
What do you think? Something kind of similar to that?
Yeah, I'd say the scope would be really good like that, especially if it'd be implemented, because, you don't want to just free aim that charge shot whenever it gets full.
Oh yeah, especially given that with Hyper Charge Buster, it's kind of expensive because it actually eats charge from your gauge in order to fire. And if you and if you don't have charge to use, you don't get a damage bonus.
Because, I don't know if you noticed this, but if we weren't going to go for the rectangular design, if we were going to go still with the circular design, I'd almost say we'd go something reminiscent, say, of like Megatron's arm cannon from like G1 like Transformers.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that.
Or I don't know if you've ever played the War for Cybertron trilogy.
I have seen it. I've unfortunately not played any of the Transformers games.
Super underrated series, especially since it was made by High Moon Studios. God, they were amazing with their games. But they had a unique like story and design for all Transformers, especially like just ones like Optimus and Megatron. And it was probably my favorite overall design of Transformers ever. Even as a kid, I liked watching like the Armada trilogy, like Transformers Armada, then Cybertron.
I remember Armada. I grew up on that one. Well, I remember that one fondly.
But like, say that as a kid I grew up with, but then when High Moon Studios came out, it was War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron. Then there was the Ugly Third Child, Rise of the Dark Spark, or whatever it was called. But it's one of those things where you're kind of doing yourself a disservice if you haven't even like glanced into them. I actually have highlights of me playing the War for Cybertron game and the Fall of Cybertron. like where I did post them. But if you ever get a chance, it's something you need to try for yourself. The problem is they are completely delisted.
Oof. So you have to find
So the
some,
only way
less than dubious means in order to find them.
you could do the big E way, or you could go the preferable way, which I do, is I get the physical copy,
That's fair.
which I actually have on my shelf behind me.
So here's what we're looking at so far with the rough concept.
I'm loving it. I like the more industrial, like it almost looks like it's made out of scrap, like like me.
Yeah.
Because like the legs feel industrial, like almost like construction.
Uh-huh.
But the centerpiece, like the torso and the head, feel more. What's the word? Almost kind of diesel punk.
Okay, yeah. That's actually kind of what I was looking at too, as a possibility.
And then the arm cannon and the full charge feel like one of those things that was ripped off of military, like tanks or weapons in general.
I could see it.
And like it's almost like a scrap kind of mech, but in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I have to confess, I didn't realize until after I put the crab eyes on. I'm like, I could see where this is going. I think I unintentionally kind of based a lot of inspiration on it from another really old mecha series, and I'm gonna age check a lot of people here with this. Who remembers Cubics?
Oh, Cubics! I miss Cubics.
Do you remember? Probably not, because it's been so long. But do you remember one of Dr. K's robots, Crab?
Yes, you know what? As soon as you said that, I'm like, nope.
Now you can see it. I'm like, I saw it. I'm like, I could definitely make good use of that as a possibility and kind of play around with it.
Can I also just say that Crab from Cubics kind of scared me as a kid?
Oh yeah, there was honestly the one I really wish I saw more of, and I actually found someone put the whole series on YouTube, so I got to sit down and actually watch that once I have time. Is Canon. Because you almost
never heard of it.
So unfortunately, he never showed up a whole lot, because if you only watch the DVD, that's like the abridged version of season 1, which didn't really go far as far as story is concerned. But explaining some of Dr. K's robots, Cannon was one of his more sleeker designs that had a kind of like a triple eye design as like an enemy sniper type with a digigrade leg. But one of his entire arms was it's kind of like the equivalent of like a giant oversized airsoft rifle. But it fired, like explosive paintball rounds.
Right.
Really creative design, honestly. I really liked how they put them together. But no, I gotta sit down and watch that series again. It's been way too long since I saw my childhood hero like that.
I'm gonna age check some people in mine too, because there is an anime that you cannot watch anywhere. The only way I found to watch it is literally through physical copy. Have you ever heard of an anime called IGPX or Immortal Grand Prix?
The name is familiar.
So essentially, quick summary, it's essentially an anime about people who drive mechs that race but also combat at the same time.
Okay.
And the designs from it, I actually based one of my Armored Core mechs based off of it, because that's why I love Armored Core, because like these mechs really remind me of IGPX.
Okay.
And one of the designs that there was a defense, forward, and midfielder mech for each team. And this one feels very reminiscent of Sane. Yes, Sane. I remember it from Toonami. Sane remembers it. That's great. Thank you, Sane, for acknowledging that it exists. But this reminiscence of the defense mech that was on the team, but it had more like it had 2 legs instead of the quadruped.
Yeah.
But it had like the stabilizing legs / feet.
Okay.
And that's where I really get my reminiscence of just loving mechs in general, is from this old anime. It's only 2 seasons long, unfortunately. It could have been longer, in my opinion.
Honestly, I grew up with robots as well when I was a kid, so I think I told this to Sunny when I had my art stream with her just a few days ago. But I grew up with Cubics. Like, that was my childhood hero growing up. Other kids had Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. No. I had Cubics. I had the weird Rubik's Cube-shaped robot that could transform. And that was my childhood hero. My folks had to bend over backwards back in the early 2000s to find toys of them anywhere because right as I got into them, they just started disappearing because people didn't buy it. And I still have a whole collection of the toys and keepsake that I've held on to all this time. And a number of years ago, actually, I was gifted for Christmas one of the Korean-specific model collectibles that had actual magnetic bits that held the pieces together.
Okay.
That's one of my crowning glories that I've held on to all this time, but it's fantastic. But yeah, I grew up with Cubics, so I always had a love for robots since I was a little thing, and that's always just translated even to my adult years as well, with just my passions and just interest in mechanical things overall.
See, I'm gonna be more simple. What really threw off my my interest for like mechs, robots, or like suits and like mech suits in general. It's simple, but it was Iron Man, like the first like MCU Iron Man.
I mean, that's a very solid point.
To this day, up till like the first Avengers movie, Iron Man suits were just phenomenal. Like it was almost groundbreaking for what CGI could do too.
Oh, it absolutely was. And being completely honest, I avidly followed MCU right up until Endgame because actually no, I take that back. Right up until No Way Home, because
I was gonna say for me it was Spider-Man.
Yeah, because it was just such a beautiful curtain call for all of the OGs that have been there from the very beginning, and after that it just started really losing its spark.
Yeah, I mean all the recent stuff, even like Multiverse of Madness, it was like okay.
Yeah,
but then I was just like, it's not great either.
Yeah, I heard Multiverse of Madness was kind of iffy. Okay, so
it's yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so new question where we're gonna take this is what should we do for color palette?
Okay, that's actually what I was about to ask next. So I'd say when we do colors, let's not go for anything too bright, because this is going to be one of those kind of stitched together kind of mechs almost.
So I'm figuring kind of like a two-tone gray-black, maybe with some caution yellow thrown in.
I'd say with the legs, let's do like gray-black. But like say with the parts on the like the arm cannon and the full charge, let's do like a like almost like a faded sage green. Like, or okay. Unless you want to just do like two colors for the whole thing.
That's what I'm figuring, like just a uniform color swatch that we could use.
Yeah, let's do like almost like a faded gray black, and maybe like a little bit of like brown in there to show some like rust, like an almost
accent color.
Yeah, like an accent color instead. Yeah.
Okay, I can make do with that. I can make that happen. All right. Let me see.
Because this thing not only needs to look like a tank, but it needs to have the colors of a tank.
Yes. Now, something else to mention in the meantime, too, while we're thinking about this, is what its model ID should be. Like, what should its model ID and name be?
Just 1 second. Sane said something about IGPX. The thing I remember about IGPX is that one of the characters is Puerto Rican, which was talked about in my place because it is rare to see my country be represented in anime. Oh, that's right! One of the characters is Puerto Rican. Yeah, I remember. God, it's like I said, I have the DVD set at home. I need to rewatch it in general because
I hear a watch party.
Oh, watch party would be great. I need to get a DVD adapter for my PC though.
I mean, that shouldn't be too terribly hard.
Nah, it's not that expensive. I just need to get one. But yeah, I'd definitely be down for doing a IGPX watch party. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you could definitely get a lot of people coming in there. You could actually make it a party, invite a whole bunch of people in.
Oh, definitely. Now, what I'm going to do real quick is because you said we need a ID tag. So how many letters or characters should be in the tag?
So a model ID in Meta is 3 letters. And it's usually a connotation or an abbreviation of what the theme is. So for instance, Metabi is a KBT type. And KBT is indicative of Kabuto.
Ah, okay. With this one? Huh. T and K would be too obvious. It would just mean tank, obviously.
I mean, it doesn't need to be overt. It doesn't have to be covert or overt. I mean,
we could always just do what you did. Do, like, say, KRB or CRB for crab.
We could do that. Because I know CLB is currently used for actual crab, but not that really would change much.
You know what this is kind of reminiscent me in now is almost like a mantis shrimp. Or not mantis shrimp, pistol shrimp. I mean,
Okay.
or what's that one Pokemon that has the large like cannon arm? Is it Clauncher?
Yeah, Clauncher and Clowitzer.
Yeah, Cloud. Yeah, this is what's really giving me heavy reminiscence of.
Okay, I could see it.
But we still want to stick to 3 letters, so I'd say just crab would be good, like CRB.
Okay, we could do that. So then the next thing we can work on is trying to figure out a name for it. So naming conventions in Medarod are kind of unique as well, in the sense that you have a lot of different creativity you can use with it, but the only limit to it is when it's translated into Japanese, it's going to need to be 8 katakana characters or less.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the only major. Hold on. Yeah, that's kind of the only major clincher as far as that is concerned. Just curious, you ever heard of Deep L by chance?
Deep L?
Yes.
I don't think I have. Is it the translator?
Yes.
Okay, yes, then yeah, I have.
I would definitely recommend bookmarking that site to hold on to it. It is honestly fantastic for like any translation needs you're looking for, and it's one of the most thorough I've ever used.
Doing that right now as we speak. Let's see. While you're still doing that, I'm gonna try to come up with a name. I got you up on my other screen, so.
Yep, definitely. So we
see.
And we don't need it immediately. It's just something we can kind of figure out with over time. But figure we may as well get that ball rolling, so it makes it a little easier to put together down the line.
Right. That's too long.
Let's see what's going on here. Actually, I have an idea on something. Actually. Yeah, I like that direction. I'm gonna add a little bit of color variance here with the design as we're refining it. I have an idea here. Oh, hear me out. We want to kind of make sure this thing is imposed as particularly dangerous. I'm actually putting this one together, and the color scheme we are picking for it kind of reminds me of another Orimeda that I put together a while ago, and I'm actually excited to put this one in the next contest because I didn't have a sheet ready for him in time. What I'll do is let me see if I can open real quick, and I can pull up. Pull up one of my.
I actually have
Busy.
I actually have a name for you if you're interested in this one.
Hit me.
I found titanium crustacean. Unless that's too on the nose.
That might be. We could probably use Titan somewhere in it.
Ooh, Titan. Okay.
Oh yes, here we go. Could be. There we go. Yeah, this one. Bozetto.
Okay.
I think this one might be especially down your alley.
Okay. No, yeah.
So, funny story behind Bozeto is the fact that he was designed to be a counterpart, I should say, to a currently existing prototype design called Maquette, who is a stag beetle type that has no counterpart as of current. The history behind Maquette was it was a prototype design built to be kind of a transition model between Dorcas and Tyrell beetle at the time, in early Meteorot 3. Unfortunately, he never really made a lot of headway and never showed up except for a couple frames in the manga. But he was also fitted with a giant and utterly obscene, massive nuclear microwave cannon built onto his right arm. And after that, he just kind of disappeared. In Meteorot 8, when it was released for the 3DS, they released Maquette officially, but let him keep the microwave cannon as his right arm. So it's been a long-standing and long-running joke for a while that Maquette was kind of a black sheep, and if they were to ever to make a KBT XX to contrast him, it would need to have a giant oversized left arm to match. So that was the case. That was my inspiration behind Bozeto, is to create something with a similar design and theming, but make it entirely melee oriented. Because the common joke with it was that's not a jet engine built onto him. He is built onto the jet engine.
Okay, actually, you know what? Looking at this, I have a much better name that's short and simple.
Hit me.
Rhino, Rhyno.
Okay, I could see it. I definitely see where you're getting the inspiration from with it too. How about actually, I'm gonna pull up Depot on my end too, just to double check it as well. So I have an idea we can play around with. Okay, how about Titan Rhino?
Titan Rhino, yeah.
So what we can do... Oops, wrong pen. There we go. Well, hold on to this. Let me write that down as well, just so we can keep it as a note. We're doing... Let's modify the ID a little bit, though.
Yeah. What if we made the like the crab eyes? Like, are you talking about like modifying the design or just the idea?
The model ID.
Oh, the model ID. Okay.
So we could.
How about we just
like TCB Titan Crab?
Yeah, TCB. Yeah.
Now we have a name for this guy.
Perfect.
Alright, now I can work on with this. Ruler's back on. Okay, now I can keep working on this. And based on conversation so far, it seems that you're pretty heavily involved in trying to find physical copies of things, correct?
Yes.
Is there a particular reason with that preference, or is it just mostly because that's just what you kind of did and haven't really bothered changing it?
Well, I mean, I do a lot of digital copies nowadays, especially, with like Steam and even Xbox,
yeah, obviously.
Easy to get digital copies, but I mean, with physical copies, partially it's because I'm just not a fan of emulation.
Okay.
But the other thing is, I always just like to have like a memory of what I had. Like having a physical copy of. I still have my original physical copy that my dad got of Halo Combat Evolved before it had the sticker of the Game of the Year.
Uh-huh.
And that is like almost impossible to find.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And my dad, me and my dad had this thing growing up where every time a new Halo came out, we'd always get the Legendary Edition. So we'd always get like the physical, like I still have my Legendary Halo Reach box up in my closet.
Okay.
And that thing is huge.
I getcha.
It's also just like your sense like this is mine. I own this because you know, I don't know if you remember. There was a game called The Crew. Also, Mercer Subgreen Enjoyer. Don't know what you're drawing, but looks cool. I'm not drawing this. This is actually something that Kuura is drawing, but we're making a tank mech.
Collaborating on it.
We're collaborating on it. Yes. But for when it comes to physical copies, like it's just something that I wished I'd like to own myself because. What was it? Oh yeah, I think this is something Sony did a couple years ago. There was a game called The Crew that came out. It was like a racing game.
Right.
And I don't know if it was the publisher. I think it was Sony because it's a PlayStation exclusive game. And one day Sony just straight up removed the game from people's libraries and delisted it.
I've heard about things like that happening.
And in my opinion, that's actually just straight up illegal. Can't really do that.
Right. Because if they bought it,
and,
you know, you can't just take it from people's libraries.
And since people who had the digital copy, they can't own it ever again unless they buy the physical copy.
Right. Which means more money they have to spend in order to do it.
The Crew broke my heart. Yes, Mercer, see, you know, The Crew broke my heart too, because I'm like, first of all, for what Sony did, that is, you know, technically illegal. That's literally, unless they gave the money back, which I'm sure they didn't.
I'd say it's honestly kind of up in the air how some companies like that work. You know, if it's something like Ubisoft or something, which definitely has taken a lot of heat for a very similar approach here in the last year or so.
Especially with the, you know, development of Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah. I don't like
Same thing happens when licensing for music and the game runs out. Oh, that's true! Like game licensing music, it has that same problem. That's always, you know, that always sucks.
Yep, especially
I think that actually plays into recently I saw, you know, I always like to look up trailers just to listen to the music sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There was the trailer for the initial Lego Fortnite thing that came out, and it was the Any Way You Want It song. But it's not there anymore. It's a completely different song now.
Yeah, this certain trailers invoke certain memories, and it's just kind of hard to relive those memories when they take the trailers away.
So that's why you got to make your own music for games. Yes, that's true. Especially for people that I know that make their own games, they just make their own music.
Honestly, that's the safer way to do it too, because it means less likely that you're going to get, you know, one shot by a cease and desist or something that nukes your project.
Now, there are companies out there that are just completely chill about when people use their music or not. Prime example, I think Sega is one of them.
Actually, I have another one that you can consider. This is actually from a friend of mine who's very much so in the series, is Toho.
Yes, I know people... You know, it's one of those games I see people never shutting up about, but it's something that actually interests me.
Yeah, I have a friend who's very much so into it as well, and I know a handful of characters primarily because of him. But, yeah, Toho is one of those series where apparently Zun is super chill about people using the music for, like, streams and such like that, or playing in the background.
Oh, yeah.
And even mentioned at one point, yeah, if like, YouTube or Twitch or whatever gives you trouble for it, as long as it meets a certain criteria, we'll fight it for you and just say, yeah, it's not a problem. Just let them have it.
Right. Which is so cool.
Oh, 100%. It shows that they're actually willing, to go that mile for people so that they can enjoy their stuff.
Like the one thing I see, I think I could be fact checked on this, but I think Sega recently made it to where it's like, or Sonic Team, it's like, hey, yeah, you could use Sonic music if you want. I'm like, oh, that is a huge thing because I love Sonic music.
Huh? I actually was not aware that they made that call.
Let me fact check it first before I say 100% true.
Yeah, because if that be the case, that definitely would open up a whole lot of stuff as possible, like just idle music to play.
Sonic Team generally allow the use of Sonic music in certain contexts, particularly for fan projects, but there are important caveats and considerations regarding copyright and usage.
Obviously, and most of it probably has to do with monetization.
Yeah, there's here's breakdown, fan projects, However, leniency comes with a condition that these fan projects are non-commercial, which is fair.
Yeah, we don't want you making money off of our stuff when we're the ones who put the work into it. That's understandable.
Now, if it's in like an official project, that's that's obviously a big no-no.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, copyright licensing. Music from Sonic games is typically copyrighted and owned by Sega or the individual composer who created it. To legally use Sonic music in commercial project, licensing agreement with Sega. Well, see, this is like for, like, say, developing other games. I'm talking about, like, say, if like you stream or put it in like a YouTube video or something.
Yeah, like a BGM or something.
Yeah, like I see a lot of YouTubers always putting like specifically Sonic Mania. Like, well,
choice.
That's because, to be fair, I don't think Sonic Team composed any of Mania's tracks besides like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Because it was wow, I can't believe I forgot the name of the people who made it. But even like the remixed versions of like already existing stages from past Sonic games or weren't done by Sonic Team.
Yeah, unfortunately you gotta be super careful with that copyright. That's just kind of how it is.
But like I said, yeah, Sonic Mania is always a great choice for using like BGMs for that.
I will have to keep that in mind. I've not heard about that. I'll have to start doing proper research.
T. Lopes is the one who did the Mania soundtrack.
I'll have to see. I'll have to do some proper research on what game studios are okay with music from their stuff being used, and I might be able to modify my BGM a little bit. I'd love to actually have an original piece set up, commissioned for my idol stuff just to have, but I don't have the money for that.
Well, and also the problem is when it comes to like commissioning music, it's one of those things where it's almost like you have to be there while it's being made.
Yeah, because you have to. You're looking for a certain vibe, and it's really hard to translate that vibe with words.
Right.
Unless they're really, really good at what they do.
And if you provide specific examples too.
Right.
Mercer said, it is impossible to get physical copies of some stuff now. Always try to get DVDs of anime I like or actual copies of the manga, but it ain't easy. Yeah, that's true. For some reason, physical copies of old existing media is just not impossible to get, but just more difficult to get than it was back then.
Oh, yeah.
Because, a lot of people don't have DVD players anymore, unless they're using, their PC. That's another thing that bothers me. Like, say Xbox and PlayStation have, an internal media player when it comes to discs, besides games. But for some reason, they're just, god-awful. There's, the Xbox's media player when it comes to discs just doesn't work. There's not much money in it for them, that's true.
That would indeed be part of it.
Ooh, I like the RGB effect for the chart. The more charged it gets, the more it builds up in RGB.
Yep, that's kind of what I was looking for with it.
Or say it starts with it starts red and builds up over time, but then when it's fully charged, it has the RGB effect.
Which actually works out too because the icon for special skills in NEVER has always been, typically a rainbow colored emblem.
Okay. Mercer says everything is just online now. That is true, especially with... That's another thing about the Switch 2 that I'm not going to like, is where... Actually, my stepfather brought this up to me when I was talking to him on the phone the other day.
It's going to be extremely heavy with the online.
Well, he brought up the point where it was, people who, try to share games can potentially be, just permaban now on their Switches.
Ah, yes. That could be a big problem because, especially with them cracking down on the new EULA agreements that they just recently updated.
Which, that is where I agree. That is a huge overstep of doing anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at people who do Xbox game sharing. I game share with one of my friends, and we don't have any issues with it.
Yeah, I could see that as being a really big problem.
Yeah, and I could see Nintendo getting a lot of heat for that, because that's just... First of all, that is a huge overreaction, in my opinion.
I'm fully anticipating that they're probably going to come out with a statement either to modify and amend to clarify what exactly counts and what doesn't, or they're just going to roll it back because it's going to be one or the other. But bottom line is, yeah, that was 100% not okay how they said that, and
it's like the whole thing that happened with Helldivers and the whole PSN situation back in May or last May.
Oh yeah,
that was extremely wow.
Oh yeah, that was bad. I have friends who were really big into that, the first couple months that it went live, and then when they said that it's going to be a PSN exclusive, it's their player count basically like dropped to 0, and it worked.
Yeah.
Like they actually managed.
It was a
to
pro.
roll it back.
Yeah.
Now, someone apparently also noticed that they kind of went back on it, but also kind of didn't, because they noticed there were some games where the PSN still wasn't available for whatever reasons. We're not able to play the game or connect. So
interesting.
I think it's still kind of in that to be determined phase. Like I heard
Right.
recently that apparently Stellar Blade is banned in countries that don't have PSN.
Which, I mean, besides just the PSN thing, Stellar Blade's one of those games where it's like, yeah, I could see it being banned in certain countries.
Yeah.
But like with this whole thing with Nintendo, I think this is just a huge overreach. Like Nintendo, this is too much.
Oh yeah.
This is like grounding. This is like grounding a child for no reason.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be pretty bad, and it's actually funny because my mom was actually considering looking into the Switch 2 as a console to pick up, because she likes doing a lot of games where she can relax and not have to be at her computer. She plays a lot of like those relaxing games, kind of like My Time in Sandrock as an example.
Yeah,
a lot of relaxing type games, but she doesn't really want to have to sit at her PC the whole time playing it. And when she mentioned it was either that, a Steam Deck, or an Xbox Series, the biggest thing I told her is, listen, it's your choice at the end of the day. I'm just kind of your tech guy because I've always been very technically minded. But just make sure you have a whole library that you can invest in, not like just 2 or 3 games. And
and people always say Steam Deck's always one of the better options to get to in general.
That's what I mentioned to her, is because you can already play like 90% of any game in your library, so
exactly
you can play it basically anywhere. But when she mentioned the Switch 2, I said, given the blowback that's going through right now, and with a lot of people having a lot of mixed opinions on it, I'd wait a couple months after launch and just kind of see if things balance out. Because
let the heat die down.
Because I know a lot of people are reconsidering or having fully canceled their pre-orders, for over things like this, and and like we mentioned earlier with the tariffs, that's definitely not a very good point either.
No,
I know they actually delayed release and even pre-order in some countries because the tariffs were just so bad.
Oh yeah, they delayed pre-orders for, I think, just American purchases in general.
Yep, and that became a really big problem. So if anyone is indeed looking to try to get a hold of the Switch 2, I would give it a couple months just to make sure 110% that everything's kind of blown over. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree, because it's like one of those things, just let the heat die down before you do anything.
Yep, exactly.
Because if you strike, like the old saying goes, strike while the iron's hot, this is the case where it's not a good idea.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be a lot of problems. Generally, along that same vein, you don't want to ever pick up something, like it's a day one thing, because it's always going to have bugs. Call them the guinea pig batch for a reason.
Even the game companies who come out with relatively, trustworthy release games.
Yeah, you want to usually wait until after it comes out first. Give it like a couple months.
Like look at Elden Ring. The Rivers of Blood and Moonveil dominated the game for like 5 months.
Oh yeah. So I would just kind of wait and let it kind of figure itself out first before people go start buying it.
Or what was another thing? Oh yeah, again, Halo is one of these examples where it took until now for Halo Infinite specifically, to be at a good state.
Playable.
Not necessarily playable, but in a state where it's like, okay, this is what we wanted, kind of thing. Because recently they started, because the game came out in like 2022, I believe. Okay. No, 21 actually. And it's now at a state where like we can finally do like cross-core armor customization. Because you have different armor cores that you can customize, but only have like specific pieces.
Right.
But I think now they're implementing a thing where you're just like, all right, you can just use any core and implement any piece now. And I'm like, cool, this is what we wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're going to give us a customization option, don't make it limited.
People want the style, and I agree. People agree the Halo Reach's style of customization was the best. And I wholeheartedly still agree. It was simple. It was easy to understand. This is just like, oh, you have to have 8 different cores in order to use like one piece or something.
Right, exactly. It made it really difficult and tricky to mess with sometimes.
And then when it comes to like weapon sandbox, there's this one weapon that was from Halo 2 all the way up to 5. It was the fuel rod cannon, and it was absent in Halo Infinite. Which the problem is, a lot of weapons in the weapon sandbox in Infinite were just gone. The most infamous, and I still agree, they just straight up removed the Magnum and replaced it with a weaker pistol called the Sidekick.
Okay.
And, to this day, I'm still, salty about it because I miss my Magnum.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, if you find that thing that works, then you don't want to make sure that you stick with it.
And Mercer says, everything after Halo 4 sucks. I kind of disagree. Campaign-wise, yeah, Halo 5 was awful. Halo 4's campaign was good. But the multiplayer was always just still fun. That I will always agree, like, Halo 5's multiplayer is probably the most fun I've ever had in Halo besides Reach. But, like, same with Infinite, it's, like, really hard because, like, a lot of things in Infinite that should have been there from the start just aren't there. Like, there was some game modes that weren't there that should have been there that I think still aren't there. And, like, there's still a bunch of weapons missing, like the Spartan Laser. Spartan Laser, my beloved, it was in Halo 3, and it still hasn't been in the game since Halo 5. But, like, I could talk about it for hours, but Halo Infinite's one of those games where it's like, it had potential, it barely missed the mark, and we're just now getting on the territory of this is how it should have been on release, kind of thing,
Yeah.
I mean, there's still things questionable about it, but that's a conversation for another time. I'll be here all night if I keep talking about it.
I mean, hey, we're having a good vibe. That's really all that matters.
That's true. But yeah, when it comes to what was the original topic of the conversation? I don't play multiplayer. You need friends for that. Story-wise, they suck. Halo 4 was good. 5 was awful. We don't talk about 5, especially 5's was actually a false advertised campaign. Because all the trailers were about this whole is Master Chief evil kind of thing. And it ended up just being like, oh, he just said no on comms radio, and that was it.
Yeah, completely misconstrued. False
yeah, it was... Like, if there's a video... I don't know if you ever heard of the YouTuber, The Act Man.
The name's familiar.
If you ever get a chance, look up The Act Man Halo 5. And there's like a five-part videos that explains why Halo 5 was doomed to fail. And the campaign is the biggest part. Shaman replying to Mercer saying, I don't like play multiplayer. And Shaman said, hey, now we are friends, mister.
I mean, hey, whatever works. Gotta connect somehow.
Oh, I like the protective screen that you added for the arc reactor.
That's what I was thinking about, too, just to make sure it stayed protected.
Yeah, like almost like a plexiglass kind of cover, but more, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Well, shit, gotta hop on Halo sometimes then. You know what? The more people I try to ask to play Halo, apparently the more people just don't want to play Halo. There's this one streamer friend this one other VTuber friend I try to get to play Halo, but she is like dead set and adamant to where it's like almost like it's a trauma for her, and I'm like, what? Okay, I won't ask anymore.
Like pulling teeth.
Yeah, kind of thing. And I'm just like, all right, I won't ask anymore. It's like I have friends that play shooters with me, but they're also really afraid to play online because they just want to play against bots instead.
Yeah, and on top of that, online is kind of a very mixed bag these days.
It's like Battlefield. Battlefield's the biggest example of that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a whole can of worms right there. Yeah. What was the original? Oh, we're talking about like Nintendo, like the controversies, like
yeah,
about the Switch, and then what Sony does with like rights and stuff. Ooh, I like that. Oh, I think that this actually stemmed from. Funny enough, this actually stemmed from when you asked me about physical copies and digital copies of stuff. But yeah, long story short, I just like physical copies more because it's the sense of ownership.
That's fair. So I think that about does it for a rough
Oh, yeah.
for
Oh
a
yeah.
for a color swatch test.
Yeah, because it feels like, like I said, it feels like a stitched together
You know what's actually kind of funny
mech.
about this is I gotta see if I can find it. Is the way we built the Hypercharge Buster is actually kind of reminiscent of something else that was seen in early Meta. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on. It was the one of the original first meta parts ever designed in the series called Metal Cannon. Let me see if I can actually find that real quick. Hold on. See if I can find that initial frame. I think it was this one. Not here. No, it was maybe it might be. But... Where is that page?
Mercer said, "You're buying the license to play, bro. You own nothing." That is entirely what buying digitally means, I guess.
Right. Let's see.
But hey, if I buy the license, that means I own the license, right? So that means I own something.
Yeah, you have a license to one copy.
That's fair.
That's essentially irrevocable, or should be.
But Sony said, "No, we're taking the crew away from you." I'm like, oh, okay. No, it's like, are you ever gonna play it again? No, but the fact that you just took it from me is what's pissing me off, kind of thing.
It's the principle behind it.
It's the principle, yes. It's like, you never use it. That doesn't matter. It's still mine.
On the M1, it's an F2, possibly. Might be an F2. Yeah, it's an F2.
I also kind of like the indirect connectivity besides the tubing of the full charge, like the tank.
Uh-huh.
It almost looks like even without the tubing it could work because it looks like from the tank connecting directly from to the reactor to the cannon.
Right. Well, what I want to try to do is kind of keep things from connecting like that, because don't forget, Metarots are also designed to be mixed and matched. So
that's true.
So if we were to take the tank off and put on something else, what's the hose going to connect to?
True.
That's what I want to try to avoid. There it is. Hold on, I think I found it. There it is. Here it is. I found it, finally. There we go.
Oh.
You can kind of see where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah, I can see it.
Had to figure
out.
It's like
it's the same thing, but it's like, interchanged, reversed.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of a mix kind of a nod to the original metal cannon.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thought on it, anyway. But honestly, I think
give me just a moment. I will be right back.
Sounds good. May end up doing now. Let's see what we're doing at with time. About 2:13. We're doing pretty good with time. Let's see. Break and check on some things in time. Just running. This anymore. Okay. Things to stretch. Okay. Alright, and looking at my chat here, Noctis saying, imagine a collaboration of Meteorot and Armored Core. Honestly, I could see that happening. Like it's a pretty solid enough system, especially with its very robust customization features. That's essentially what made it extremely unique, was the ability to essentially mix and match different kinds of parts relative to excuse me, relative to what you were trying to look for. That has to stand there. That's a mask. I don't need that. Color.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm back.
Welcome back. Didn't get too far ahead.
Okay. So I was thinking about it. You know what this really does reminisce me, actually?
What would that be?
I specifically from the Mari section of the Bionicles. There was one enemy who had like a giant shoulder cannon.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of.
Let me see if I can find it.
I see where you're going from with it.
Let me look, because I remember specifically, it was like he was from that one trailer where it was like the CGI trailer. I'm drawing a blank. I forgot. I remember as a kid, I really wanted the ship that they came in on, but I could never find that in the store.
Yeah, they unfortunately made some things like almost impossible to get a hold of after a while.
The one I did get, funny enough, first was actually the giant, like, Gudunka, I think his name was, the one with the big teeth.
Yep.
He was actually the first one I got. Before any of the Toa.
Yeah, they had a lot of really fun designs back in the day, too, and then when they stopped doing Bionicle, that just kind of went away. I think they kind of started losing their charm with Glatorian.
Yeah, the Glatorians were like, it was like, I could see the appeal there, but it was like, it was one of those things where the pieces started looking too detailed singularly instead of piecing together to make a detail, if that makes sense.
Didn't stick as well.
Like the one guy who had there was the fire, basically the fire Toa.
The equivalent.
His sword was literally just, yeah, his equivalent hero. His sword was literally just like a PNG of a flame.
Yeah.
It wasn't unique at all. And the only one that was really unique was still, I forget his name, the guy with the Mask of Life.
Matanui, yeah.
Yeah, Matanui. He was the only one that had a whole unique design, which I loved.
Well, yeah, because he was kind of like the resident, patron there. Like, he was, basically the equivalent of Isekai.
Yeah.
So they kind of had to make their boy Matanui iconic on purpose, because he's kind of like, he's like their entire prehistory.
And also with the Glatorians, you could see that's when they really started delving into, slowly turning into the hero factories.
Yeah, and like I said, like, I could see where they were coming with it, but I really think that they kind of started losing interest in keeping it going as a series. It just didn't stick as well.
I don't know why, but I remember specifically one meme from Hero Factory that it's so silly, but it's like the funniest thing I still remember. It was the scene where that I don't remember any of their names obviously, but it was one of the Hero Factory guys. He was putting together a puzzle piece to open a door, and at the end it was like, got it, and then he just went H, and then that just cuts off there.
Oof.
I need to see if I can find it, but it was like, you know those like memes that it's so stupid simple, but it just makes you laugh every time.
Yeah.
It was one of those.
The cheesy kind.
Like, this shouldn't be making me laugh like a hyena, but it does.
Yeah. Like I said, the cheesy kind of memes. The good kind.
Exactly. I'm probably never gonna find it, but it was still like the funniest thing ever, and to this day. I mean, I always like going like watching like old like TV shows like out of context compilations.
Oh yeah, those are great.
And those are always fun. You know what's funny? All the Toas that didn't do well, I actually liked the It was the one before Glatorians. It was the one where they had all of like the flying vehicles.
Yeah, kind of like their last hurrah, the story finale.
Yeah, and I felt like I actually really liked that one, even though people weren't fans of the redesigns of the original Toas.
Yeah, that's kind of where a lot of the blowback was, because they didn't seem super keen on the idea of them redesigning, even if they were the original Toa. They didn't seem super keen on it.
Now, see, my beloveds will always be the Inaikas and the Maris.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's a good genre. It's a good generation.
Because you know, Jowler, my beloved, will always be top boy for me.
That's always a good choice.
Of course, you know, as a kid, it was like, oh, fire's the best element, so fire guy is what I'm going towards.
Yeah. We were very easily, you know, we as children were very easily entertained. Thank you, that's the word.
I mean, even today, I'm still easily entertained. I'm still watching Dragon Ball like it's the thing back in the 80s.
Let's see.
Speaking of, they finally dubbed most of Daima, and I'm really ready to go back to watch it now.
Nice.
Even though people are hating on Sean Shamel because he's getting old, I guess.
I mean, can't stay young forever.
Exactly. And he's like, oh, he doesn't yell like he used to. The guy is in his 50s. Leave him alone.
Yeah, exactly. So he can only do so much relative to what he can do. Like he's gonna start wearing out after a while. Like it's great that he can still keep doing it, but don't keep holding him to that same standard, you know?
Like, I think I remember seeing a tweet saying he actually almost passed out like 3 times recording one scene for Daima.
Oh yeah, I mean, just as another example, the voice actor, the JP voice actress that does Aqua in Konosuba,
Yeah.
she had to undergo throat surgery because she put so much soul into her screaming like a banshee, which was great, by the way.
Well, which was great, yes.
Yeah, she put so much soul into it that she literally blew out her own vocal cords and needed surgery over it. You don't.
And then
as much
there's
as we enjoy people doing that for our entertainment, you know, they're human too. We don't want to completely blow them out.
No. Or it's like the Japanese actress for Bocchi from Bocchi the Rock, making those really weird noises that people were actually concerned about because they thought they were edited, but it's really just her making those noises.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I remember one thing I saw that was the sweetest thing. I don't know if you ever watched Full Metal Alchemist.
Again, it's part of my list of heard of it, but have not seen it because my list of other things is just way too long.
So long story short, there's 2 characters that were fighting each other, but they, sweet enough, they're actually played by a husband and wife, which I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Oh, it's great when that happens. It's great.
But what happened is, whenever the wife had to record like screams for her, like in the battle, like death screens. The husband said he had to walk out of the recording studio because he was crying hearing her scream like that.
That's adorable.
And I was like, that's just so sweet, but it also just shows how human people are still.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, if I heard my wife screaming like that, I'd be like, oh my god, is she okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Not like, oh, that's such good acting. It's like, oh my god, I don't care if she's acting, it still hurts to hear.
Yeah, exactly, because, you know, you promised your life with this person, you know, if they're screaming like a banshee like that, you're gonna, part of you is gonna be, even if you know it's fake, you're gonna be freaking out going over it, going, I hope they're okay.
Exactly.
That's just being a good person. That's caring for your spouse. That's good.
Exactly.
Those are so wholesome. I love those things.
I'm really liking how this is turning like really industrial / military like aesthetic.
Which I think was the whole goal that we kind of ended up veering towards as we put it together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So all this is
Like, I'll be honest, the other option that we had, you know, with the hammer and everything.
Yeah.
I felt that would have been a lot more tough to try to put together.
I mean, if we kind of had a theme that we were going with it, we probably would have made something work. But honestly, the way it'll help if I'm actually on the pen. The way that we're putting this together, though, is coming out really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That stays. That. There we go. Like Realize I missed this time. Go.
I just realized my music stopped playing.
Going to just go. Done to.
There he is.
I think I got. Hold on, I missed something. I'm gonna have some fun with the shade layer too when we get to that point.
Oh yeah.
I have an idea. And the light source.
This gives me the vibe of, say you walk out, oh, the tutorial's over, tree sentinel.
Yeah, exactly. It actually reminds me of
Like-
one of my favorite memes. I hope someone actually takes this and does something with it because it was such a great meme. This person said they got bored in the middle of I think it was a class one day, and they were designing like monsters, like for a D&D campaign. But they ended up coming up. The final design they came up with was a rock monster that looked really short and stocky, like it looked kind of like a really silly little thing. But its entire premise, its mantra, and the only reason that it lived and existed was that when it attacked, it went and kicked people in the nuts. That's all it did. That was its only attack. And I'm like, honestly, just imagine that in a campaign. You see a bunch of like seasoned, like 40, 50-year-old adventurers in there that have like seen dragons and everything. Yet they refuse to leave the opening, the starting town. And you're like, wait, you guys are like level 7 and 8. Why have you not left yet? We fear the rocks. What do you mean what do you mean you fear the rocks? Just fear the rocks. Don't go anywhere near them. Why? Pray you never know. They'll just start covering their junks rather protectively.
I don't know why. That also reminds me of the meme. I don't know if you've seen this meme. It's from Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock movie, the discombobulate meme.
Yes.
But someone made an edit of it where it's just him discombobulating him like 6 different times instead of doing everything else in that fighting move.
Yep.
He just like slaps him in the ears like 6 times and then kicks him.
I mean, hey, whatever works.
To be fair, if you discombobulate someone enough, they're just gonna be like dazed completely.
Which I think was kind of the goal, but yes.
Yeah. It's like throwing flashbangs in classic Call of Duty.
Think fast!
What? Think fast, chuckle nuts. Funny enough, I need to make that a routine. That'd be funny.
Honestly, I would. I'd do it.
Someone just flashing the entire, like someone in chat just flashing everyone else for funny.
Just make it a redeem where it's like super expensive to collect, but if they actually do, it's like worth it.
Like I have one right now that I'm surprised no one's taking advantage of. It's just called Dispenser. If they redeem to rebuild a dispenser, I just where's that? Oh, there it is. I just placed a dispenser from TF2 right there.
I mean, hey, whatever works.
Yeah. And funny enough, my my rewards thing is scrap metal, so it fits perfectly too.
Okay, hold on. There we go. I don't know why I was seeing things with that. I just colored all the way in. Alrighty. Just about finished here with the inside on the shade layer. There we go.
You know what's funny? I was looking at a, you know how whenever you look up a genre of like of a specific game, but then you see like 10 different games that are like super cheap that are related to that, but are just kind of silly.
Yeah.
I was looking up Scrap Mechanic earlier, and I found Scrap Dealer Simulator. You're literally just going around finding scrap and making money off of it.
Yeah, I really would like to try to coordinate a Scrap Mechanic collab sometime, because that game is great. I'm really hoping that we can try to get that coordinated.
Well, I think I brought up the, I think, Satisfactory at one point.
I heard about that one too. I've seen friends of mine play it. I don't know why, but for some reason it just never seemed to appeal to me. I don't know why.
It is definitely one of those games where, have you ever played classic Minecraft Tekkit?
Like classic Minecraft, or
it was the mod. I think it was called Tekkit.
Oh, I don't think I played that one. No.
I think it's because what we're talking about is like, you know, scrap mechanics, like building things. This is like industrial. This Satisfactory is an industrial game.
Yeah. Like, I've seen gameplay of it.
It's one of those games where it's like once you start, you go into like a downward spiral where you play for hours.
Yeah, you can play for several hours and not even realize it.
I think I only have 68 hours on it, but I think half of that was like within like the span of 2 days.
I mean, hey, once you get into that tizzy, that's what happens. You know, they got you on that. They got you caught.
Like, I got my friends hooked on it too, but they stopped playing it too, and I'm like, man.
They got out of it quick.
Not that they got out of it, they just got busy. And they kind of forgot about it almost. Well, yeah, they got out of it then.
They realized it was a trap and got caught and got wise.
I like the glowing effect. That's really neat. Yeah, that's really sick.
I'm gonna tone it down just a little bit though, because it's still a little bright.
It's almost like it's like a too much almost.
Yeah, I'm gonna tone it down just a little bit. That's what transparency layers are for.
God, I need to get into digital art.
There's lots of ways to do that.
Yep, and I'm one of those people who either just doesn't have the time for it, or I'm just a little lazy.
Well, sometimes, you know, on a day off, that's all it takes.
True.
There we go, that's a little better. Unadd it, though. Kind of similar to that. What do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I like the glows on the different like light aspects, like especially on the greens.
Yeah, I want to try to make something that kind of set itself apart. Alternatively, what I'm thinking of is I can take it off the eyes and just make them like a standard prop, and then kind of like the rainbow LED would be kind of the equivalent of the face.
Yeah, because I feel like the eyes, the quote unquote eyes, would just be props, and the main line of sight would be the main, like the center monitor.
We'll keep it something kind of like that.
Yeah.
I can see it. What I'll do, though, is I will do the scope as an LED, though.
Yeah, I was going to say the scope was actually good as LED.
Like that. What I might end up doing, though, is to increase this a little bit.
Digital art is so cool, especially if you can get paid. Especially if you get paid for it too. I mean, true, people like getting paid for it, but it's just fun too.
I would love to, but unfortunately, I'm not. I don't get it. I don't get many commissions to do something like that, so I just kind of drop it myself at this point.
Well, now you got me. Now you got me wanting to make a commission for a mech version of me.
I mean, hey, whatever works. More than happy. All right, let me see here. Let's do. So let me check something else too real quick, just so I can make sure I can kind of keep these.
Give me just a second, I'll be right back.
No worries. I'm just back in a second here. Let's see. This. Let me double check my project with. Sunny real. Dimensions on this one, even relatively similar. 1,000 by 2,700. Okay. This here. That out. I can actually get rid of that one.
All right, sorry about that.
No worries, I'm just doing some organization here to clean things up a little. That one. Let's put this over here. Alright, so let's modify this. Say TCR, what's TCR? Or TCB? TCB.
PCB.
TCB. Rhino. Right. It doesn't help that the gray I use as my typical backdrop is almost always it's almost the exact same shade as the cursor, so I can almost never see where it's at any given point. Okay, so now the new trick is trying to figure out part names. And these kind of follow the same rule as with names, is where they need to try to stay under 8 characters.
Okay. Let's see. Let's start with the legs then.
So I'm thinking... something interesting but industrial sounding. Maybe like...
something like jackhammer, but...
I was thinking something like bunker leg.
A bunker leg or drill bunker.
Yeah, let's do drill bunker.
Drill bunker sounds good.
Okay, drill bunker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is 8 characters. We can do that.
Okay.
So let me double check how I did this with Sonny's, just so I can try to keep. Okay, so is drill bunker. Fortress. Time just to make sure. Well, I didn't put a heavy limit on it, but that's fine. I will just put it on here. Alright, so try. We could do charge tank for the right arm.
Charge tank? Yeah, charge tank sounds good.
If you have any other ideas for this, definitely hit them up too.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking this whole time, especially for the arm cannon.
Charge HV. What would be a good possibility?
For the cannon?
Yeah, that's what I figure out too.
I was thinking something like Flash Buster. No,
I'd say
that's
flash
too...
cannon. I'd say flash cannon, but that's kind of encroaching on another certain territory.
What about Final Buster?
Oh, actually, how about this? How about Arc Buster?
Ooh, Arc Buster's good too.
Because that is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 characters, so we could do that one.
That's a strong candidate. So we got Arcbuster. Hmm.
I'm pretty good.
Something Buster, because Buster sounds like, the best for it. Because that
Right.
looks like something that would bust something.
There's a particular word that comes to mind, but I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it.
Omega Buster, or is that too much?
Let's try it. 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, it's 7 characters. It still counts. We could do that one.
Okay, Omega Busters. I like Omega Buster. You said there's a word that comes to mind, but
Yeah, it's. I can't think of it. Go with Omega Buster. That works.
yeah, Omega Buster sounds good. If we didn't already have Drill Bunker, I would have just called it Bunker Buster.
I mean, we could technically do that. Let me see if it counts. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can do it. It's 8 characters.
Okay, let's try that then. I mean, that feels pretty good. I mean, it's also technically a military term too. There's missiles out there called Bunker Busters.
Yeah, exactly. So that definitely fits in really well. How about, hold on, let me try, how about something like Arc Reactor?
Yeah, like something like simple arc reactor.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 characters. We could make it work.
Let's keep arc reactor as the top contender so far, because I don't want to completely like rip it as a
Yeah.
thing like from Iron Man or something.
Yeah, I want to use Reactor, but that alone tells me it's 5 characters. So we gotta kind of be mindful of that.
What about Omega Reactor? Or is that too much?
5. Yeah, that one might be a little big.
Okay. Oh, this is the hardest part, is actually naming pieces.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the fun part, though.
Oh, that is the fun part, yes.
About Crab Reactor.
Yeah, actually, nope. I like that one. Yeah.
Crab Reactor. Put these forward a few. And this I can get rid of because we don't need it. Now we have our naming process. Actually, let me make this a little. Is still.
Because the kind of vibe you would get from this thing is like, oh, this thing is a tank, but so it's not going to deal that much damage. But if you do enough damage to it, then yeah, it's gonna shred you.
Yeah, exactly. I know that works. See, I like to see what you draw, and that's why I'm here. Well, I do appreciate that, though. That's why I like drawing to begin with. It's nice and very enjoyable.
Because drawing's just fun.
Yes. So let me pull this back up. Here comes the next step. Boy.
Oh, did it stop? It did stop.
Okay. Let me shift this over. There. I'm also thinking about making this one a gender end, though. What do you think?
A what?
Okay, so in Medarod, there's always been canonically the male and female types, which means parts can only be used on specific type of gender tin pets. But as of Medarod 7, they introduce a gender N type, which are neutral parts that can be equipped on either male or female tin pets.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could agree with that.
Let's do that.
Because it could be interchangeable on either male or female ones.
Yes. Do that over here. Keep it differentiated. Because you see a lot of male or female types typically, but you don't see a lot of gender N types.
No, so this would be pretty more unique then.
Yes. So what we want to do next is we're gonna do some. Move my ruler over here. We're gonna do some just brief concept sketches of the parts from other angles.
Mm-hmm.
Something kind of like that for the legs, leg top.
I also feel like with this too, it could also be a thing where it could possibly climb walls almost.
I could see that, yeah.
It just has to be really careful about it.
Yeah, because it literally has to drill into the wall to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's like, say, like scaling mountains or rough terrain.
Wrong ruler, there we go. I love the symmetry ruler, it makes things so easy.
I just realized my mic was off. Yeah, it does look like it helps a lot. But also makes things perfectly like even too.
And I realized I was drawing that on the ruler layer. Oh well. I actually had an idea. I wanted to redo the. It doesn't help when you're drawing things on the wrong layer.
That's fair. Mercer says this thing is going to be dangerous. It already is.
Yes, it is. And funnily enough, it is far from the most dangerous thing in Metarat.
Exactly.
There are a whole lot more dangerous things that look surprisingly tame. Yeah, they've come up with some very wacky designs through the years.
This is just more of a straightforward, almost kind of thing.
Yes.
But it will do its job pretty damn well.
Which is exactly what we have in mind with it.
Have you ever played Elden Ring or any Souls games, Kuura?
Not really my genre, honestly, because I'm the type where if I keep losing the same thing over and over, I am going to give up on it after a while.
I'm wondering if you saw any of my randomizer run I was doing for Elden Ring. Because I ended up having to... Okay, rerolls were only 6. Like, I had to re-roll the randomizer 6 times.
Uh-huh.
But my death counter was up to 321.
Yeah, I would have given up long before then. I absolutely
I'm one of those... I am a persistent person. I'll say one more time, and it'll be like 20 times later.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I'm at, is if I play something like that, and I say, alright, one more time, I think I got it, I'm still going to be there like 4 hours later.
That's fair. It's like with Monster Hunter for me, too.
I want to get into the Monster Hunter series, but unfortunately my my PC is too old. It's like 7-8 years old, so I need to look into possibly upgrading at some point. And surprisingly enough, I actually went to go run a benchmark test to see if I can actually play Wilds. And the only thing on my PC that couldn't run it was my graphics card.
Oh, that's an easy upgrade then, honestly. It's just going to be the most expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mercer asked EmerRaldo Dex or Strength. Oh. Asking the guy that wields a giant hammer. Obviously, Arcane. No, it's Strength.
Honestly,
Strength.
I would really recommend, if you want to count it as a Souls-like, I would greatly recommend Fate, like I told you the other day too,
Oh yeah, Fate.
because I think you would definitely get a kick out of that.
Yeah, Mercer. If you look at my Elden Ring character, he's got 99 faith and strength. So I am the holiest strong boy.
Smite!
Smite! I still go back and watch that video every now and then.
I cast thee with Holy Smite!
Strength is the only way, of course. Filthy Dex users, if you're in this chat, stay please. I'm not gonna diss you. Although I will judge you silently. You katana wielders, you. If you're not wielding a hammer that's 5 times bigger than you, then I don't know what to say. Funny enough, actually, there is a hammer like that in Elden Ring. It's not 5 times bigger than you, but it's literally like twice or 3 times the size. And it is obviously the strongest strength scaling weapon in the game.
I think you definitely will enjoy Fate then, because the way the system works is kind of like your standard RPG where you kill things and get levels, but every time you level up, you can distribute your skills. Do that the wrong layer again, dang it. Every time you go to distribute, you can distribute your skills in a whole bunch of different categories relative to the kind of skill that you want to raise. So if you want to go a whole strength build, kind of like what you do, you can do that. Or if you'd rather go for magic and casting, you can go for a magic casting and then level up your magic skills instead. When we hop off stream, when we hop off stream, I'll have to show you just a little bit of it so you can kind of check it out, because it's honestly great.
I mean, it sounds fun. Mercer says, nah, bro, great sword's goated. Great sword's goated, yes. But if you're not having a hammer to smash things with, what are you doing with a strength build? I mean, yes, great sword is probably one of the best strength scaling weapons in the game. But the Giant Crusher is just the highest strength scaling weapon in the game. Hammers are so slow. Yeah, they're slow, but you get a lot of poise with them. My brother, you lack poise. As simple as that. You lack poise. So much punishment. Yeah, I know. There's punishment when using a hammer, but it's also very satisfying because it does strike damage instead of standard, like great swords do. And strike damage is better for breaking people's guards and poise. Especially if you're using it against a shield.
Counterweight little thing to put over on the back of the key.
I think that's always been the appeal for me too. Like, funny enough, in any game, when it comes to making like my quote unquote build, I always just like using the comically larger weapons.
I think you'll like my current build in Fate then, because I'm literally dual wielding hammers.
You know, it's funny enough, you could do that in Elden Ring too, but people actually use that for quote unquote one. It's not super efficient, no, but people use it for quote unquote one-shot builds.
I mean, hey, whatever works.
I think you'd like this one YouTuber, Kuura. His name is Inferno Plus.
Uh-huh.
And he does a lot of mods specifically for Souls and Halo games. I don't know if you ever heard of the mod for Halo on Steam. It's called the Cursed Halo.
Okay, I may have heard it in passing.
But yeah, he's the one who made that mod, and this guy's insane, by the way.
I imagine some of the best ones are.
But like, he actually modded in actual working Halo weapons in Dark Souls.
Well, that's fun.
And he explained the process, and I'm like, dude, how have you not gone insane at this point? I think there was like an entire novel's worth of code just to make a single spark from firing one bullet. And I'm like, dude, that is a lot. If your point isn't comically large, what's the point? Exactly. Thank you, Mercer. Hey, can I get some ice cream? Only a spoonful. Me pulling out the comically large spoon.
Yeah, exactly how it
You see,
is.
exactly how it is. That's the one meme I always go to when people ask about weapons. At some point, I need to get with you so we could do that other option. I know you said that I could also do it too if I ever wanted to. But it's like I got ideas on my head for that other option we were talking about, and it's like, ooh,
I mean,
ideas
hey,
brewing.
The workshop doors are always open if you want to coordinate another time.
I think I will save that for another time then. That'd be awesome.
Right.
Honestly, this turned out really great.
Honestly, I think we got ourselves a winner here.
Oh yeah. What's the saying goes? The immovable object versus unstoppable force.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely
This is the immovable force.
probably won't be super fast, I anticipate, with this kind of heavy bulk, but can definitely make good use of it.
Mercer says 10 out of 10, boys. Thank you, Mercer.
Absolutely. And honestly, that's what makes this so fun is, yeah, with the generator, you can make a whole bunch of them on your own, but it's more fun when it's collaborative, and that's honestly why, I went and signed, if I have a guest, I'm going to sign them as well, because it wasn't just me doing this.
Right. And I think the thing you could take from this is also still plays into what the initial, weaknesses, too. Like, the strengths of it is that it is a tank.
Yes.
It is a literally walking fortress, but it is also really lightweight, considering it's got a lot of exposed parts that could easily be damaged if done precisely.
Oh, 100%. And honestly, even with having full charge as an arm, which, like I said, you don't see done at all for obvious reasons, because what it does is that it eats HP from the part to cap out your Metaforce gauge. So theoretically, if you are able to use it over and over and over again, that's basically a potential infinite Metaforce. The problem, however, is if you could catch it, even if it is an arm, there's still ways you can counter it. For instance, there's a skill that you can use pretty accurately called Metaforce Seal, or the shooty version of it, which is called Force Control. And it's basically what you think it is if you afflict it on the target, they cannot unleash Metaforce in any given capacity.
Oh, okay.
So what's great about Meta, which I've always appreciated, is even if a build looks completely over the top, like there's no way possible it has any kind of weakness, it still has something that can be exploited somewhere. So there is no true meta team that can conquer everything that's thrown at it, because everything has a counter.
Sorry, there's a fire truck just pulled out outside in front of my house.
Well, that must be fun.
I'm hoping everything's okay. That normally never happens, so sorry about that.
No worries, all good. But yeah,
everything's good here, by the way.
That's what's most important. Yeah, we want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, I'm good here. It was just a little kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Right, and honestly, we did great on time too. We're coming up just shy on 3 hours. See, look what we did with putting two minds together. Look at that.
Yeah, two scrap mechanics, coming together to put together a masterpiece.
Exactly. That's what's most important. And we had fun doing it the whole time. That's what's even more important. Is I tell this to all my guests, is if my guest isn't having fun and my viewers aren't having fun, then this stream is a complete total bust for me. Because
Mercer just commented saying it's here. The fire trucks are here because you guys have been cooking. Like, that's honestly the best way to put it.
You know what? I'll take that answer. That is 100%.
I'll take it too.
That's 100% acceptable as an answer. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut my music off for the time being and just kind of close it for the time being. But honestly, like I said, for 3 hours, we did a good job putting this thing together. And I'm looking forward to posting this here pretty shortly when we go off the air, and
definitely
just kind of having some fun with this. But honestly, that's something I love about the generator too. Is, I mean, yeah, you can take it yourself and make up all your own designs, but more than likely is if you really get into it, you're going to get to the point where you're reinventing the wheel, trying to come up with something original and creative, even with the most promising of concepts, and you're going to get stuck in this tunnel vision of trying to figure out something specifically. Where if you have someone else doing it with you, then it's a collaborative effort where they may notice something or suggest something that you perhaps didn't see the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly why I liked doing this, and that's actually why I wanted to set up doing it as an experimental stream idea. But so far, just in the 3 I've done alone, it's been an absolute success from start to finish. Like Sane and I had a really great time. We did 2 on that one, only just the flat coat art more than anything else. So I can always go back and clean those up. But realized it took 4 hours to do 2 of them, so I'm like, let's crunch that back a little bit and kind of close on it and just kind of make it easy. So that way we only did one design, much like I did with you and Sunny, where we can have more time to actually refine the concept and have some fun with it. Actually, there is one more thing I do want to do with this before I do wrap it up, though, because I feel this might be important to the design based on what I'm looking at.
Also, before we do move on, I also had an idea before we decided on the drill legs. I was almost gonna go for tread legs.
I could see it.
As specifically it's based off of the Halo Scorpion, because real life tanks have 2 sides of treads, like they have one on the left, one on the right.
Right.
The Halo Scorpion has 2 sets of treads, so that way they can maneuver over terrain a lot easier.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
And also kind of inspired by the one from Armored Core as well. Not the long tank one, but the short one.
Right, I can see where you're going with that, yeah. I wanted to do a profile of the torso, too, because I had a pretty interesting design for that one. I want to make sure.
But as I was saying, if we didn't go with the drill legs, I would have definitely suggested treads.
No, and honestly, we could have even made multi-legs work with treads, too. Like, we can absolutely do it.
Ooh, actually, that gave me an idea. Like, what if we did like normal, like just regular 2 legs, but made like the feet like wide tread feet?
Actually, you might be surprised to know that they did that similarly with one of the metatubers, Shushu Pop. Her third form actually does have something similar to that, and hold on, out here, and she's technically considered wheeled. But the way they set her up is her heels are basically like caterpillar treads.
Okay.
Really, it looked really cool, and honestly, I'm biased for Shushu Pop, but it came out super adorable.
But yeah, now tread feet is like I also kind of took inspiration from Shadow too, like with his jet boots almost.
Yeah, exactly.
But since this one doesn't have flight, that wouldn't have went with it.
Yeah, that's a little better because I know I did it.
If we ended up going with
design for the torso, I wanted just to make sure that I documented that.
If we ended up going with the option 2 with the support one, I definitely would have implemented something like Shadow's jet boots because that would have been really unique for like a heavy design.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We can
definitely. Well, I'm really happy we went with this instead.
Yeah, and like I said, we can definitely go back and refine some of those designs, or you can even attempt it yourself and just kind of see, I can put some feedback on it too and just kind of make your own.
Oh, I could try, but me, I'm not a good artist, especially when it comes to digital art.
It just comes with time and practice. You just have to keep at it.
Right.
Yeah, that could even be a stream idea. Learn digital art.
Oh boy.
I mean,
that'll be fun.
I mean, if you have a tablet that you can run with it, you just have to kind of sit there and, practice with it. That's all you really have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, honestly, I had a lot of fun. We came with a very creative design and also 100% original. So we definitely will not see anything similar to this anywhere else, canon or not. Which is honestly which was honestly the goal, is to come up with something that has been never before seen and just have fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what I may end up doing is, when the next contest rolls around, I might clean it up a little bit, put it on a proper format sheet, and submit it, just to see what happens.
Oh yeah, go for it. That'd be honestly really cool.
Yeah, there's actually another one I'm working on refining. I want to try to have her done before the next contest as well. I've not had a chance to work on her in a while, but it was a really neat idea. I think you might enjoy this one. It's a witch hunter idea that I've been working on.
Ooh. No, yeah, that's I like that. Like I like the hat for it too. That's really funny.
I'm
Well, not
gonna
funny, but cool.
I'm thinking about changing the axe around too because I came up with another idea for it later, but yeah, it was an idea for a witch hunter.
Okay.
And
Ooh.
just something I've been cooking up, that's all. I might actually end up getting to this design before long and kind of playing with it.
Hmm.
But yeah, had a lot of fun. Emeraldo, it was an absolute treat to have you with me. I think it probably is a good time to go ahead and start wrapping up here, though. Because yeah, we are coming up, we are cresting on the 3 hour mark, though,
Yes.
which honestly is great, though, because that we were still able to get it done, have a lot of fun, and still be mindful of time, which is the most important.
Hmm.
But before I do wrap us up here, Emeraldo, do you have anything that is incoming on your channel, or anything, or any projects that you want to announce, kind of put a self plug into?
Nothing huge yet, but I will be doing another collab this coming Sunday with Mirror. Uh, she's hosting a Mario Kart tournament kind of thing. So
Okay, okay, that
more
seems
details about that will be put out tomorrow. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's definitely something very important to keep an eye on. Actually, while I'm at it, let me grab this, stick this in here. I'm gonna stick that in my chat too. Go follow Emeraldo when you get a chance to keep up to date with that. But yeah, that seems really exciting. When's the date for that? Or still kind of tentative?
it is this coming Sunday, the 25th.
Gotcha. Man, I wish I would have been able to attend for that, but unfortunately, I got another collab lined up. I got another friend actually who's going to be hopping on, joining me on the workshop floor for another Orimeda, much like we did tonight. So I do hope you guys have a lot of fun with that, though. It's always going to be fun.
Oh yes, I see. Problem is when it comes to racing games, I'm always super competitive, so I'm hoping I can hold myself back.
I have not touched Mario Kart in so long, so I'm probably super rusty at it. But I would race casually on 200cc to the point where I'd like run circles around most people, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna play by myself because if I play on anything under 200cc, I feel like I'm going at a snail's pace.
Right.
So
So what I'm gonna do on my end, I am going to raid out to a fellow, you know him, Kuura. It's Officer Demicky.
okay, yeah.
He is currently playing Repo with his collab going on.
Oh, goody.
So
Definitely.
this is actually the perfect place to stop. I'm so happy for everyone that was able to join and partake in the conversations we were having as well.
Absolutely, and especially with all the people that stopped in on both your channel and mine. Honestly, it was a real treat to have them stop in and just have some fun with us for a while, even if it were only for a few minutes. But Emeraldo as well, it was an absolute treat to have you here on the MNN. If you ever decide to want to put something else like this together or jump into the row battle yourself, more than happy to show you the ropes and give you a hand with that.
All right, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Alrighty, and with that, I am going to ask briefly when I do say farewell if you could just camp out in the chat for me just a little bit after you go off the air, and
Hmm.
just kind of finalize some things while I get ready to post everything. But
Okay.
once again, Emeraldo, it was a pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much, and until next time, the workshop doors are always open.
All right, I will see you next time.
All right, thank you so much, Emeraldo.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Go ahead. On that topic, yes, like I said, I do have another Orimeta art stream coming up this coming Sunday, which is I have not put the thing up for it yet. I will do that this coming Tuesday, which will be May 25th at about 7:30 in the evening, so roughly about the same time as we're doing here. Um, Looking forward to having you guys there on there as well for yet another blind Orimeta stream. I have no clue what we're going to be putting together for that one, so make sure you tune in. Aside from that, just your usual meta news on Tuesdays, as per norm, with business as per usual. But with all that being said, as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping in, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kuura Isagami of the Metarot News Network, signing out.